This is the One Piece Podcast, episode 794 for the week of Monday, November 6th, 2023. My name is Zach.
And my name is Ed.
And my name is Steve.
And on today's episode, we have three really cool guests joining us. First, we have the voice actress of Flampe. Wow, I almost mispronounced her name. Unforgivable.
Flampe.
Marianne Bray with us. Yeah, that's
her. Flampe. No, it's
How are you, Marianne?
I am pretty good. Ooh, there's a dog. I'm good. We vibing.
I just read through the Flampe chapter. I've been rereading Whole Cake and just got back into Wano. And I'm like, why did you want to be Flampe? And we could talk about that another time.
Because she's delightful and obnoxious, and everyone hates her, and it's fun to play characters people hate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That I forgot, I guess, the answer from a few months ago.
Yeah, pretty much.
We also have, from CNN and from Discotek, and most recent production credit for the new HD version of IGPX running on Adult Swim / Toonami. We have Jose Argumedo joining us. How's it going, Jose?
Hey, I'm going to see if my dog barks again. Hopefully they won't bark again. Sorry about that. Nope. Immediately I am.
You're good.
So the longer you wait.
Jose? How are you and your dogs doing?
They are clearly, they waited. They were so quiet leading up to this recording. And then suddenly they're all like, hey, pay attention to me. They know.
No, they want to be on.
They want to be on
the latest chapter. Yeah.
They want to voice Kumachi. Anyways, yes, the IGPX remaster that had aired. Holy shit. Sorry, they are so distracting.
No, it's becoming a running joke now. We're stuck with the barks now.
We're stuck with the barks.
Did you want to talk about IGPX?
I did want to talk about it very briefly. It aired last night on Adult Swim and will be...
We'll talk to Jose later. We also have our final guest, first time on the show, booktuber, YouTuber, author, jack of all trades. Daniel Green is joining us for the first time this week. How's it going, Daniel?
It's going phenomenal, and I have a very important question.
Yes.
When I've been DMing you guys on Twitter back and forth, who am I talking to?
Me.
Okay, perfect. Just wondering.
Yeah. Simultaneously. It's like a telepathic. Yeah, that was me. I apologize.
No, it's totally fine. I was just curious.
I'm just assuming. Daniel, first off, welcome. Do you want to tell those out there about yourself and just generally what you do?
I make incredibly nerdy videos about the stories currently going on in the fantasy sci-fi genres with a pretty modern bias, though I do occasionally go into some of the classics. I'm actually about to get into Fafford and the Grey Mouser soon, which will be a lot of fun. And I'm reading Conan books, but most of it's pretty modern. And I love to also do what I can for the self-pub author community. So shout out to all those incredible people. There is an entire community right now that's just coming to life that is so engaging that we're going over book reveals and cover art, so much fun stuff. So that's the gist of it. And yes, I've put out a couple books. Pick them up at your own risk.
Are they very heavy? I thought they were novellas.
One is a novella, one is a novel, and the other one I've officially been it's been christened a thick boy. So I have one thick boy under my belt, which I'm very proud of.
As someone who did creative writing in college, I am jealous, and I need to get back on that train of, especially now that things have gotten so much easier.
Yeah, COVID was not to say it was a good thing, but in terms of time to write, it allowed me to get 3 books done. So that was kind of a blessing in disguise. And now I'm trying to find time for my 4th book. So that's what we're currently working on, which is about a goblin defense attorney, because why not?
Nice. I like it. And so now I have to ask, how did you get into One Piece?
I was bullied into it, which I find to be
most of us are. I was too, actually.
I think
the bully is right here.
Oh, great! Wait, which one is the bully? That be Steve or Ed?
No, that's
Ed.
Me. Yeah,
perfect. Okay. Well, I was a big Wheel of Time fan, and it became a meme in my community to say that One Piece is the Wheel of Time of anime to try and get me to read it, or manga, I should say. And so after about 2.5 years of me not being able to go live or post a video or anything without people flooding my chat, like read One Piece, read One Piece, read One Piece, I finally went, fine. And now it's my favorite thing. And I've made videos about how, like, if you love Chopper, you're not a furry. Like, you know, it's one of those things that you start a little bit and then you go way too deep because it's a never ending pool. And now I've been reading it for well over 2 years. Did a whole series review on the live action, which was somehow good. I don't know what the consensus has been on the podcast here, but I quite enjoyed it. And it's probably, aside from Berserk, the most wholesome community in sci-fi fantasy, which I have no idea how Berserk got as wholesome a community as they have. That is just a weird... I think they get all of their darkness out in their reading, and then they're very nice.
It's that meme with Junji Ito and Miyazaki, where it's who's the wholesome one there. That's very cool. It's a good lesson to always listen to YouTube comments, I think.
Exactly. That is the takeaway.
Take them to heart. That's
I kind of, the only viral moment I think I've had in the One Piece community is when I said if it was written in the typical novel format and not manga, its world would be talked about in the same leagues as like Malazan and Lord of the Rings. And it's the only reason it's not is because it's a manga.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd love to see a novel form of One Piece. I wonder how that would work, or if it would work.
A novel idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think you'd have to do it like a Discworld series where it's just a bunch of really short, quick books to covering, and then there would be all of a sudden these massive ones for like Wano. Like there would be a bunch of quick ones, and then just
Dressrosa for some reason.
Exactly.
That's very cool. We also, does anyone else have any specific questions for Daniel? I was going to do our usual ones. Okay, I'll do my usual ones. So we ask all our new guests these are hazing questions, I guess. Okay. First, who is your favorite Straw Hat?
Okay, my favorite Straw Hat in terms of who I want to be like hanging out with the most regularly is Chopper, because I feel like my apartment's the least likely to get destroyed. I think the hazard of hanging around a lot of them is far greater than people realize. There's a reason they're on an open air ship a lot of the time. Think of an island they've left that hasn't been in like, you know, some state of disrepair. So I would say Chopper, because I also feel like he would be really great to just like, I don't know, talk about medicine with. But in terms of like who I think would be the most fun if I don't care about property damage, Luffy. Like Luffy 100%, because it's like, I feel like going out and hanging out with Luffy in our world would be the closest you can get to like a real life Hangover movie. It just would be a montage of insanity.
Very apt description. I never heard that before. It's that he would just instinctually do some crazy stuff that ended with a great story, but it would destroy a lot of things, and a lot of food would be stolen.
He would learn about the consequences of our world real fast.
Would he care?
The question is, are they worse than his? Yeah, I don't think he would care.
Luffy's almost a power fantasy in a way where it's like, man, I wish I didn't care like he does.
I wish I could just de-establish governments and make things work.
Yeah.
Can I choose which ones? The second question, who's your favorite non-Straw Hat?
My favorite non-Straw Hat, Doflamingo. I love a man who's got style and swagger, and he might be awful, but there's no... Excuse me, I just had a burp slip through, and I apologize.
No, you're good.
But that man walks with a swagger that I admire and fear. So I think Doflamingo is... I'm still going to say my favorite villain. I love Doflamingo.
Well, that was going to be my next question, so that works. I guess I'll reverse it. Who is your favorite non-villain, non-Straw Hat?
Favorite non-villain, non-Straw Hat. Ugh.
That's a really bad way to ask that question, I realize, but I'll just...
Everybody else.
Yeah. Besides, not a villain and also not a Straw Hat.
That's what I didn't prepare for because it's so specific. I will say my favorite non-Straw Hat, non-villain character... Vagapunk. I've been really enjoying Vagapunk recently, so I will say that to nicely lead into our conversation.
Except that he doesn't show up this week, but we're in his arc. Yeah, I I agree. Vegapunk's great, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, hopefully soon. And
I'm
you
also... Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. I'm just a hoe for Mad Scientist. Like, Doc Brown was way too formative in my childhood, so I love me a Mad Scientist.
Me too. That's a good way to put it. And you also did a big read-through, I think, leading up to this podcast, right? Where were you before?
I left off right before Wano ended. So in 3 or 4 days, I just read from, I want to say like 1040 to 1097 is the latest chapter. So I was sitting in a cafe called Tate's for hours on an iPad, just reading One Piece and drinking coffee. And it was a very pleasant weekend.
So we don't get most of us don't get to have the experience of binging because we're doing it week to week. So I'm super curious, especially for this arc, how it has been just binging through it.
Well, the biggest surprise is like Wano was like so much action towards the end. Like it was so long of just action. So I figured there'd be like a big deep breath of just like, okay, let's relax. No, the entire Egghead Island, that's what it's called, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, has just been like comparatively through flashbacks and just everything else, just as much action as we were kind of getting in Wano. But there's a whole lot going on in terms of like delivery of lore and answering questions clearly building up. So to me, I know this is like the meme to say, and I'm still new to the One Piece fandom, but like it does feel like things are wrapping up. It feels like things are really coming close to an end. So I'm excited like for that reason.
We need to, of course, add the disclaimer, close to an end could mean a decade, since this has been going on for 25 years.
Yeah.
I still think 2027 is a good end point because that would be 30 years, and I think it makes sense still. Anyway, thank you, Daniel. It's a great origin story. Again, I had no idea YouTube comments had that sort of power, and I definitely want to empower that community. But before we get into the manga, the little bit of news is that I was lucky enough, Toei Animation reached out to me, or us. As we mentioned, I'm the one who answered the Twitter account, and invited us to what is called Balloon Fest, which is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade practice run. So I got to see the Luffy balloon for the first time, filled up. Which was kick-ass, and very like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. The Balloon Fest is only for the new balloons, I also learned, so I didn't get to see the Bluey balloon, which I was excited for. But I did get to see that Adam Sandler character balloon, as Steve and Alex had pointed out. Which I didn't.
What?
I think I knew it was Adam Sandler. Was that the turkey or the dinosaur? It was the dinosaur, right?
It was an iguana.
Iguana? That's an iguana? I guess that's an iguana. Anyway.
So yeah.
That size.
Luffy's right up there. You know, his
the iguana that Adam Sandler
with the other four emperors, Leo, the Adam Sandler voice iguana, and
oh, I wish you could draw that image, but it's gonna have nothing to do with this week.
You're making me picture One Piece anime voiced only by Adam Sandler, and it's a horrific image.
And yet I could see it. No, it was really.
If I wasn't shot, I would make an attempt. But
we're gonna. I think Delaney, our editor, is putting together a short video, which will show some of the footage that I had there. I took a ton of pictures. It was just crazy to see, and it's so surreal. We talk about it all the time. We've been fans since 2009, when no one really heard of One Piece, and it was not in the United States. It was not a big thing, and now to see it in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is really surreal. So I do want to give a big thanks to the folks at Macy's and the folks at Toei Animation for making it possible to witness the premiere of Luffy being let out of the net. My favorite part, though, was him getting deflated. It was terrifying.
It's just like real life. I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah, it's the gear. It looks like the Gear 5 when he, gets all. Yeah. I still think a Gear 5 balloon would have been more accurate, but I understand why they went with this one. And the Gear 3, I think I heard someone talking about, or maybe it was a comment on Twitter or something, about how that was a very good choice, and I do agree with that.
all the live action fans asking, how did Luffy get that big scar on his chest?
I'll say that's the problem.
Yeah.
Why is he so white?
You can't ask people why they're white.
Well, if you went to New York Comic Con, they had like a big inflatable Luffy from Japan there that was fifth gear. So get off your high horse.
Yeah. This hypothetical fictional
We can't
person.
spoil the normies, though.
The normies.
The people watching the Thanksgiving Day Parade going, who's this Monkey D. Luffy guy?
Someone holds up a big sign says this character is dead.
I can't wait for NBC to try to pronounce that name.
So I want to say first off,
I was like, we should like do like a bingo. You know, we should like kind of like place your bets or something.
Are they
we
going to get the
should.
name right?
Probably not.
I do want to say,
like, what the mispronunciation is going to be.
Since I was with the Macy's people, they did pronounce Luffy's name right consistently. They pronounced One Piece correctly. I think was that your joke, Steve? Or maybe it was Greg. I forget whose joke. The only thing that really stuck out is there was like maybe 60 people, volunteers holding down the balloon. And they had two chants. One was I'm going to be king of the pirates.
Okay.
Good stuff. You know, can't go wrong there. The other one was Gum Gum Luffy. And that just confused the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's not really a thing.
It's not really a thing. And also, why? But, you know, I am sure some of the volunteers there were fans.
They should have been saying Gum Gum Balloon.
Yeah. It's right there.
I get why they'd avoid Gum Gum Pistol, but anything else is fair game.
Balloon is perfect. Marianne is right.
That's
If
what he
we
is.
could get that word out to Macy's now to switch
I was
their
very confused by where Zach was going. I thought something like, I was very thrown off when some of the people that were saying like, it's like, you know, and Gear 5th is the most iconic anime transformation of all time, better than Super Saiyan.
People would have no idea what they were talking about, which would be great.
But I did hear some people say this one's for the anime fans that were like, it was just press and the volunteers who were doing it and stuff. And then a lot of people who were just confused but thought the balloon looked cool. My favorite touch was the belt. What do you call that? Is there a name for Luffy's belt thing?
Sash?
The sash thing?
The sash?
Yeah, sash is the word sash. Actually had like a fabric thing that flew off, which was cool. It's the size. It's bigger than General Frankie, smaller than Oimo. It's 1,500 centimeters for those keeping score at home.
Did they provide you with that
50 feet.
information, or
They
you
did.
provided us
No,
with that
they did.
information?
When his sash came off, did his pants fall down?
No, it did come off. It just blew in the wind. I thought that was a good touch because it was a non-balloon feature on a balloon.
I wonder if that's bigger than Luffy's gotten, and that is we need to get like
like
those
2
YouTube
chapters,
videos.
right?
Yeah. We need to get those like little YouTube videos that show like, oh, this is the Statue of Liberty compared to the Baron's Trench.
That's always what I get recommended on YouTube, and I'm like, yeah, I do kind of like that. I get why you're recommending that.
It's addictive.
They had one with Star Wars, I think, and all those, and yeah, no, those are addictive. It was 50. I know it was 50 feet tall. It was like 40 something. I have the dimensions somewhere. Well, maybe I'll say it at the end of the show if I find it. Anyway, we should talk about the manga chapter. This week we are talking about chapter 1097, and we'll get into it right after this. This is the manga recap for chapter 1097, Ginny, or Ginny. Did we decide how that is being pronounced?
It's pronounced Jenny.
It's Ginevra. No.
Okay, well,
I like Ginny better.
I like Ginny better too, and so that's what I'm going with. I know Steve is apt to say anything related to Geen.
I don't know. My gut says Ginny, but
my gut says Jenny. Jesus.
Jenny.
Jenny.
This chapter and all chapters are available for free legal worldwide at shonenjump.viz.com or mangaplus.shueisha.co.jp. Ed, you have an author comment, not even from this week, that you want to read, and I want to hear it.
Sure. So it's Basha Uma. I learned a technique for grilling chicken skin into a crust. The flavor is the best. So Oda's slacking on his diet, eating all chicken skin these days.
Dude, he has to take care of himself.
Into a crust, like
Pray for Oda.
sounds pretty
Hashtag
good.
pray for Oda. Isn't that
like pizza crust, like pie crusts,
like a chicharron.
Daniel, this is why manga recaps take around 2 hours.
I'm more just concerned. Like, I'm now doing the math in my head. Like, will this chicken skin affect his ability to put out One Piece?
Probably
That's
not.
I think. No, yeah,
Not
Unless
He's
it
a lot of
causes him
meat,
to
I
have
know.
surgery again. So
From what I've heard, Luffy's meat thing is very much Oda's meat thing also. So that also probably doesn't help.
Just gotta watch
Ed,
your
what's-
cholesterol there, Oda.
Yeah, someone should be with you at all times, and I'm sure he has the money to do it. With a cholesterol test. I don't know.
A dietitian.
hold on. This just in, we got word from Stephen Paul. Soft G.
I was doing it right.
Is that what soft G is?
Yeah, it's
Ginny.
Ginny.
It's
Not
Ginny.
Soft G.
All right.
Ginny it is.
Isn't, just a real quick actual question, isn't Oda like super known for his philanthropy behind the scenes?
I think that was a fake story that came out. I
he
think
did
I know
donate a
what
lot
you're
of money
talking
after
about.
the earthquake, but I'm not sure if there's
He
a specific
did.
story.
Yeah, there was a story where he like
that was all public, though, so.
There was a false story where he like helped a boy or told him the end of One Piece. I remember years ago that coming out. That was
Oh, that wasn't what I was
false.
thinking of.
No, I'm not saying that's what you were thinking, but I am sure he is philanthropic, but I have no evidence to back that up or support that.
We'd
I'm
like to
saying
think he
because
is.
because of that, he could eat all the chicken skin he wants to.
That seems fair, right? You could. The only way you could be an ethical billionaire is if you eat chicken skin, and I've
I
always
think
said
he's
this.
a billionaire.
He might be. Well, in yen.
Billions of yen, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
like. I don't. Anyway, what's going on in the front page, Ed?
Sure. Speaking of eating meat, we have a reader request for Bartholomew Kuma catching salmon in the river and making them disappear. Are they just going to like appear right on the grill?
Is that? Are you being earnest?
The grill is empty. So where did the fish go? You made the fish disappear, and it's somewhere far away now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I was about to say, I almost thought this was it was like, oh, whoa, this is a huge spoiler. Kuma has eyes. Regular eyes.
He's had eyes this whole time.
I mean,
As an adult.
I mean, we've never seen we've barely seen his pupils. We've never seen his pupils.
As a kid, he had
until now.
pupils.
And yeah, I mean, adult Kuma.
Okay.
God, Zach.
Yeah. I thought I was supposed to interrupt you. I thought we discussed
what
this
I
ahead
mean.
of time.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't spend enough time looking at this cover, and I thought he was slapping the fish we do see away. I thought it was him just smacking the hell out of a fish.
Yeah, the fish has
Get
a
outta
look
here,
of
you.
panic on its face, like, oh, get away.
Yeah.
Well, because his friend just disappeared, or family. It could have been like,
Right.
could have been. Oh no, my wife.
Maybe he sent the fish to the fish training ground, so it'll become the strongest salmon.
Or sent the fish to an island of just women to learn about hockey. I like to imagine all these scenarios. Go ahead.
In the background, we also got those two members of like Bonnie's Pirates
Yeah.
that we saw as kids in the previous chapter. And I was like, whoa, there's another spoiler, but I guess they're also in this chapter too. So
They are.
So I think like only in this recent arc has he done cover stories that like directly relate to the chapter. This one's especially interesting because it's not a cover story; it's just a reader request. That I found, I'm like, whoa, that's interesting that it includes the characters that are in this week's chapter.
I wonder if he like got that reader request a while back and was like, I'm saving this, or if it just so happened to pop up because Kuma is one of the like prominent characters in this arc. Maybe.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, it did.
All we know for sure is the surviving fish probably just found religion.
Which is Kuma's goal.
All it says is
Yes.
for Kuma. It doesn't say anything about any of the other characters being here. So
That's true, but we got Ginny. She's holding some tongs and something else. What is
Gloves?
that?
Yeah,
Are
I
those his
wasn't sure
gloves?
either.
his gloves.
Are they just? Yeah, maybe they're his gloves because he has big gloves. Oh, he's telling.
fingers.
She's telling him to put the gloves on so he doesn't blast away the fish when he catches them. I think
Probably
that's the
so.
joke.
Is that why they're yelling in the background too?
Yeah,
then you're
it's like
going-
put on the gloves, Kuma.
You Dumbo.
This is no way to catch fish.
Ed, let's get into the chapter.
Sure. So 8 years after the God Valley incident, this is now 30 years ago, We hear, Komachi, I need your help. I've been coming here since your father's generation. It was such a shock when he up and vanished, but I'm so glad to see his son growing into such a great pastor. I'm sure your parents are happy wherever they are now. It's nothing but old folks in this poor kingdom. And we see Pastor Bartholomew Kuma, age 17, curing an old lady, pushing the pain out of her. And she says, that's so much better now. Thanks, my boy. I'm next. My back is killing me. Just an old guy with it looks like he's wearing a bathrobe, kind of, with the weird belt thing. But the old people are very, very appreciative. Oh, what a blessing it is. The miracle hands. Couldn't you extend hours to the weekdays too? Absolutely not. Only on Sunday. The foot, she's putting her foot down, literally. And we see Ginny, now age 21, say, you're asking a lot for people who aren't paying us any money. Behave, you greedy old beggars. And they don't take this very seriously. Oh, no, it's Ginny the cheapskate. Shut up. This ain't no, that's her. Shut up. This ain't a campground or a hospital. Yeah, so pretty, but so foul-mouthed.
I didn't realize that. I was giving you a page of all old people. But
what I hear, the men in town can't stop vying for her affection. Stop changing the subject. Then again, she's already got Komachi. The sight of Komachi's face makes me feel at ease. Oh, that's so sweet of you. They act this way because you spoiled them, Komachi. And Ginny having none of this, but the old people they're very happy.
They're very happy to be spoiled.
A cheer goes up from the crowd. Yeah. So the old lady continues. I'd give you as much money as I could, Komachi, but it was already hard enough just to get by while paying the heavenly tribute. And now we've got this new king, don't we?
Jose.
All right, the next page. I believe it's still the old lady. They say that King Bitcoin is a cruel boy.
King Corey.
Is a cruel man with a heart of stone. If we get sick and we can't pay our share of the heavenly tribute, and he'll throw us in jail. It's a travesty, I tell you. The last geezer they tossed in the cell starved to death, I hear. Starved! He won't even pay to feed the prisoners. Stupid skinflint king. Sorry, this text is very small. I always knew he was bad. The way he bows and scrapes to the celestial dragons. We have to be healthy.
I love that woman's face there. Sorry,
yeah,
I just noticed
that. We have to be healthy or it's a death sentence. And then this is Komachi over here. Well, I can help by removing any light illness or pain you're feeling. Come every Sunday. Thank you, Komachi. And everyone's all happy. And then we see the giant Kuma bubble. Kuma touches it. And he is on the floor in pain, bleeding all over the place. Every week you do this. They have no idea how much you suffer for them. Jenny comes over and comforts him as he's on the floor wounded. There's no other choice. That massive pain and suffering won't disappear until someone accepts it.
Just to add here, I think we discussed last week, where does all the pain go? Does it just float around town? So here's the answer. The other thing is, did anyone, when I first read this, maybe I was just because I was multitasking, I thought Kuma's chin was his neck, because it just goes into the bottom of the panel there.
Oh, in the
middle,
in the
that
fourth
little
page.
one.
Yeah,
on page 4.
Yeah,
there's a there.
It just
now I
looks
see it.
very odd, and I'm like, is that Kuma? And it's like,
yeah, it's just it looks like some kid.
Yeah, don't mean to ruin this emotional moment. Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, it's very serious.
All right, next page. And Kuma elaborates. He says, if left untouched, it makes its way back to the original person. But more than the pain, I feel delighted to see their happiness. He says, I'm sorry to put you through this anguish. I'll toughen up and I'll be stronger. And Ginny says, that's not the issue. It's like kind of just like, he's not getting it. But Kuma just smiles and he says, "They gave us some food, didn't they? Let's eat." And Ginny immediately kind of turns on a dime. She says, "Yay, food!" With an eek even. She spins around and turns. And then we got like a nice panel like outside the church window, and we can see their silhouettes. They're eating and they're happy, and all things are good. So now we jump to 25 years ago. Now Kuma's at the age of 22. And I'm glad Ginny waited till he was at least of legal age to ask for him to marry her. And she's like, "Let's get married, Kumachi." And he's like, "What? No." Like, I don't know. Like he's like Tenchi from Tenchi Muyo.
There you go. That's
no libido. And she's like, "Why not? Marry me, damn it. You know you love me."
That line I did think was very
me.
funny. Yeah.
but like forcefully, she's saying like, "I'll make you happy," and Kuma says,
"I'll make you happy, damn it."
Yeah, and he's saying sheepishly, he's like, "I'm sure you would," but he thinks back to his father. And he's like, "It's me. I'm the one who has Buccaneer blood, but my wife does not. Let her and my son go free." And he just says like, "I don't want." He says, "I don't want to bring you misery." And I'm guessing no, this is still the same. It's
Steve. I was just going to ask what you thought of that panel artistically. The way.
What like how like his like shadow like the like
it's
his
interesting.
His father is like in his shadow. Yeah, it's really cool. Sorry I didn't point it out earlier.
No, I just noticed it. So.
Really neat here. But yeah, we kind of widen out here and we see, Kuma is like, he's still like, dressing very priestly, and Ginny's still dressing the way she does.
Like a one-piece woman?
Yeah.
Like a one-piece woman,
I was thinking.
I'm curious, we didn't talk about like the shirt that just says sister on it. Now I'm like, is that sister as in she's...
Like a priest and a sister? Probably.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
I
think of that.
Or
probably.
Or is it
hope
just because
that's
I know
what
she referred to Ivankov as like big bro and all that. And I don't
You know how hard it would be for Odo to show skin if she was in a nun outfit? There's no way he's doing that. So he went
just write sister.
She's a big fan of the 1991 comedy Sister Act.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it is. The act is on the back. Whoopi Goldberg's a big fan now.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, of the live action, but
I mean, I'm not gonna complain. Ginny is cute, but also it's like, One Piece woman.
Yeah, it could
good
be
on
both.
you, sister. Good on you, sister. You dress comfortably the way you want.
You wear your crop tops.
It's very warm in the south part of Sorbet Kingdom.
And your short shorts, yeah.
They do have
Haven't
palm
we seen-
trees, so it might actually be warm.
I believe we've seen Frankie's bare butt, right? So at least it's like equal opportunity.
No, we
That's
never.
true.
Yeah,
Buttage.
A lot of
I'm
shirtless
about to date
dudes in
myself
One Piece.
here.
yeah.
That was 16 years ago.
No, but Zoro has the largest chest size in One Piece. I think we've determined.
Yeah.
So
He does have he's got the
biggest
boobs.
bust.
yeah.
Oh my god.
But yeah, we wind out. We see, because they're they're inside the church here. Kuma says, "Look, another article about the freedom fighters. They've caused protests in several countries, and now they're wanted by the authorities." And we see Dragon. He's so cool. He must be someone's hero, I bet.
That's such an interesting line.
Yours, Kuma.
Yeah.
And Kuma says, "One day I want to go out to sea and use my life to help others too." And we hear a voice outside the door saying, "Are you in there?" It's these two guys. I forget their names, but they're like, these are clearly the dudes that are in Bonnie's pirate.
I think this is the first time we get any of their names in this bottom part here.
They probably have names, on the wiki or something.
Well,
I'm
now
sure
they-
Oda's named them. We have a name for the woman who can't help but like cover her eyes, and peek through at Dress Roses.
Yes.
So.
Her name is Peek of the Crotch.
Peek of the
right,
Crotch,
that's what it was.
Thank you.
Bartolomeo
Yeah.
specifically.
Like these two groupies, and like the one with like the kind of the sprout of hair, not quite kid in play, but he says, like, it's the lovely Ginny. And the one in the hat says, we caught a huge haul today. Please take some fish. And Kuma says, oh, thank you. And is this Kuma's laugh, I guess?
No,
that's his name. That's his name because he's carrying fish.
Fish.
You better,
it's a
you
fish
better
pun.
catch fish if that's your name.
Gyo.
Gyo.
That's so. What is so? What Gyo is fish related?
Yeah, like
Have you ever read the manga Gyo?
Yeah,
No.
Gyojin, like fishman.
Is it like
not.
It's like onomatopoetic word, right? I thought it was.
Sorry, I can't believe I almost read that. I'm like, oh, I guess Kuma has a laugh now.
And it's Gyo.
Gyo.
Would it be something bear related, like
Or just Kumamamama.
Kumamama?
Kumamama. That's good.
I like that. Or Kumamon. They would be like the. Anyway, I work Kumamon in any conversation I can.
But I'm guessing like his attention immediately. Like I guess Kuma has a hard time paying attention to things or women's needs because he's like excited about the fish, and for that he gets a bonk on the head from what looks like a water bucket from the bath from Ginny here, and he says, "Ow." I hope he did not break his smile. I hope he got hit in the back with the water bucket and just went, "Ow."
He's going to feel that pain again later when he has to do the whole balloon thing again.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah, that bucket.
It's the worst one.
And Ginny just sighs to herself and says, dummy. You know, the way someone with a crush on someone says.
Yeah, it's Baga. 22 years ago, disaster struck. So we started at 30 years ago. Then 25 in that last one, now 22. And you see an angry Kuma still in his pastor clothing, pretty infuriated.
The bucket hat.
But he has, this is the first appearance of the Kuma bucket hat for those keeping score at home. And he is yelling to a bunch of people with swords outside of a fancy-looking place, saying, "Give your prisoners back." And you hear the prisoners asking for help, and you see that this is the royal city of the Sorbet Kingdom, and Kuma here is 25 years old. He could now rent a car without higher insurance rates, and they are asking here. They are saying here, "You dare defy the royal army? Who is this monstrous lug?" I assume Helmeppo-y voice there. And he explains that he is a pastor from a church in the south. And here, just a very good generic-looking pirate or brigand or whatever says, "Well, father, they're not related, but father as sister and all that. I'm sure you've heard that the laws have changed. We're free to do whatever we want with people from the South." And he asks, or I guess the conversation between the panels here is that they are turning the people from the South into slaves. Obviously, that hits a spot for Kuma, who had been in that circumstance 20 years ago-ish, and says that is an unforgivable sin. And it looks like the Ursus shock that he usually unleashes here. And this is the first actual weaponized version of his power, it seems, that he's used. And someone saying, "This is rebellion!" Meanwhile, this a different random schmuck, I don't know who this one is, saying, "Your Majesty, I must admit that this policy is going over poorly with the people of this realm." So is this supposed to be a celestial dragon or someone related to them, since they're saying realm?
You've now encountered my biggest fear with One Piece whenever I talk about it, because there's so many times where I'm like, I don't think that's someone important, and people are like, "That's the guy." Like,
isn't that's King
Camo guy with
400
gun.
chapters ago.
Camo guy with gun.
You're talking about the guard, right?
The one bottom right of this page.
I think he's just a guard for the king.
That's what I thought. It's just the
King
people
Corey.
of the realm. I guess. Oh, the people of the realm, just meaning the kingdom.
Yeah.
Sorry, misinterpreted that right there. That's why we do these manga recaps, because otherwise I would have no idea what's going on. The king, who looks even... So he was introduced... He looks even more ridiculous here. Saying, don't worry, they will soon be led astray by labels and look down their noses at the South. And here we have a map showing the division of the kingdom. In the north, the castle and royal city. In the south, the church and the elderly village. This is essentially, they're turning it into something like The Giver, but even more depressing. Where they're like, let's just get rid of all the old people here. As they say, starting today, only the north part of the island is the actual Sorbet Kingdom. The world government determines the amount of heavenly tribute owed by the number of citizens. So, if the south isn't part of the country, we don't have to count them in the heavenly tribute, and so we will remain prosperous, and our books will be totally balanced. And so you see the southern area is now lawless. Meanwhile, in prison, you get the literal clank sound effect, which you should hear here, as in any time you cut to someone going into a prison cell. And here is Kuma, Ginny, and the rest that we met, Gyogyo and the rest. And Kuma, who we see as pupils here, saying, why are you in here too? To Ginny. Ginny says, we were clamoring for them to let you go, and the others continue. And then they beat us to a pulp, and they're laughing. Daniel.
Right. Okay. I'm no pressure. I've never done a One Piece voice before. But
no, you don't have to. I mean, you could just read it, but go for it. Whatever you want.
Okay. From Ginny, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Okay. Ginny, I'm afraid our land is turning into a place of the haves and the have-nots. King Makori is just a tool of the Celestial Dragons. This whole plan came down from someone above him. If we want to fight back, we have to take on the world government. This man you're infatuated with certainly is a wild one. You'll be so impressed with him, Dragon. And then
so I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, Steve, doesn't it go down and then up to it's confusing.
Yeah, there's a line there that threw me off. Yeah. I apologize.
No, you're good. I was just like, whoa, did I miss something?
Yeah.
I thought that line connected them.
No, it's a reasonable, because a lot of times Oda does do those. I've been rereading Wano. He always does the big top one. And then, anyway, go ahead.
Ah! Who are you people? Ah! Run, your majesty! You won't escape, you sad imitation of a celestial dragon.
You could describe what's going on, too. You don't have to just do acting. Sorry. I'm so
sorry.
No, go
There's
for it.
a bomb going off, specifically making a boom sound within the fancy-looking city we saw before, as well as some characters that I believe translate to kaboom above. We then cut to seeing some shadowy-looking figures. I wonder who they could be. And they say, Kermit. You won't escape, you sad imitation of a celestial dragon. He makes my blood, he makes me boil with anger.
I like that dragon.
The king's... Yeah, thank you. The king's given in. The enslavement policy is no more. Ah! I'm so glad I didn't want to live like that. It's a great thing to say in that situation. It's an apt statement, sir.
Who talks like that?
That's a real quote, actually, after the Civil War. Someone went, huzzah, I didn't want to live like that. So that's good.
Wow, Kermit, again.
Through someone's interference, the Sorbet Kingdom avoided disaster. This man you're infatuated with certainly is a wild one. You'll be so impressed with him, Dragon. The freedom fighters led protests in countries around the world after the arrival of the great era of piracy. And we're seeing some half a panel of art of what looks like pirates because it's cut, but this is about to be the big reveal. And the tragic fall of O'Hara. The group took up arms, and with the addition of Kuma, the two twin pillars of Dragon and Ivankov?
Got it, I think.
My dyslexic mind is very proud right now.
Yeah.
Kuma, Ginny, we've agreed on Ginny. So you've been imprisoned, eh? I'm here to get you out. What? What is that? Is that you, bro? Iva. And is that... Listen up. This is Kuma and Ginny kind of exclaiming, "Listen up, Kuma. If you're still the same man as that boy back then, come with us and change the world." And then we see the full unveiling of the revolutionaries. And the narrator says, "They underwent a transformation and became the Revolutionary Army the world would later know and fear." And then we see, who's this attributed to? Who's the yeehaw going to?
Oh, that's Ivankov. That's Ivankov's catchphrase.
That's their thing.
That's their thing.
Oh, right. Duh. I thought it was... Well, it looked like it was pointing to Kuma, too. And I was like, his mouth is closed. All right. And then we get a good old... as well as Ginny just in the corner going, "I'm going too." And there we go.
I love this panel. So speaking of like little characters that you don't think they're anything, we have Bello Betty, I think, in the front with the hat. From it probably, I don't have any proof of that. I'm just assuming. And if that's Bello Betty, then Karasu, I think, is a reasonable assumption. These, by the way, for those who forgot, are the commanders of the Revolutionary Army's divisions in the current day. The guy behind looks just like Jozu, but I doubt it. And there's the bowler hat guy that we all thought was Sabo years ago.
Okay, so I wasn't the only one. I was literally about to say, I thought that looked like Sabo.
When we didn't know if when Sabo was coming back, way back when that was happening between Dressrosa and everyone with a steampunkish look, we're like, is that Sabo? It could be Sabo. Like, sir, that's a fish man. Yeah, so it's great to see. And also the leg band thing that Dragon has is reminiscent of the tattoo. I don't know if there's anything else here we still see Kuma's pupils at Steve. I mean,
I think One Piece is right. One Piece. Well, I think One Piece is possibly the best counter to the argument no capes, because people make capes look good in One Piece.
I agree. Who says no capes? I don't know.
The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Oh, no capes.
Right. Okay.
And then the Incredibles
2. Yes. Yes. Marianne.
I do really like on this page, like on the far right there, the dragon and Ivankov in like all black, but like you see like their teeth and like their eyes, and like I just like how sinister Ivankov looks here. It's
the entrance, like knocking down the door like that into the prison is super cool. I like, we all know who they are, but it's like this very dramatic entrance. It's fun. Yeah, Marianne, it's all you. Finish up the chapter here.
So we start off and we have Dragon still, and he says, "We still lack a solid source of funds. The plan is to act like mercenaries and lend our strength to the rebellious elements seeking to overthrow their kings. Those who wish to join will be taught how to use weapons and fight with them. One day I want to raise this into a massive armed force scattered across the globe." And we see various either revolutionaries and or people fighting in a city that has explosions and things happening in the background. We cut to a ship, theoretically Dragon's ship, and we see Kuma saying, How did you learn to use weapons, Dragon?" And he says, "I spent some time in the Navy. Sadly, I couldn't find any of the justice they wear on their backs." And then Ivankov comes up with, "It's strange to be at odds when both the Navy and the revolutionaries just want to help people." And Kuma says, "Well, I'm with you all the way, Dragon." And Dragon responds, "You won't regret it." And then it says, 8 more years have passed. And people are calling out to Kuma walking towards them in the distance. "Oh, is Kumachi back?" And he says, I'll return now and then. I want to make sure you're all right." And someone says, "That's so sweet."
It's probably a very old person.
Probably.
Although, at this point, you know.
"That's so sweet." There you
go.
And then we get Ginny in her pretty friggin' cool-looking revolutionary outfit, army outfit, which I might cosplay. And it says 14 years ago in a certain country. And there's a guy with a top hat. They're all kind of sitting down on crates, and he says, "You look happy, Ginny." And she says, while chewing on a bone, Oh, is it showing? Tomorrow's the big day. We're going to meet up with Kamachi's group, remember? I can't wait.
I just realized she's sticking out her tongue and a bone is sticking out of her mouth.
Is she sticking out her tongue too? Yeah, I guess so.
I think she is. I thought that was like part of the meat.
Yeah, that second image she is.
The I can't wait one.
But it lists her, it labels her as Revolutionary Army Captain Eastern Forces, Ginny. And one of the other guys is responding with, I wish I were Captain Kuma. He gets the affection of everyone's crush. What? Don't crush on me, you creeps. Grow up. What a mouth, they say with a little heart. Like, oh, that's okay. We like her anyway. And then it cuts to...
That just makes us like you more.
Yeah. Aw, you're a brat. We love that about you. And then it cuts to another little scroll thing that says, Revolutionary Army Headquarters, Baltigo. And someone is radioing, I suppose, Dragon, saying, Dragon! Come in, Dragon! And we see Dragon, who now has his face tattoo. He has not in any of the previous flashbacks, but he does now. And he says, Ginny's been captured? And they say, I'm sorry, the enemy caught us unawares. And that is where it ends.
And then on page 13, that ends. I wonder Oda's rush this week and the note that it ends on, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. Before we get into discussion on the chapter, what is the logo supposed to be on the boat, the Revolutionaries' boat there? I'm legitimately
It
asking.
looks like a dagger, kind of do you see the handle and then the knife itself,
I'm wondering
the blade
if it's
itself, and then
supposed to
like bat wings on the
It's almost
the hilt?
an X.
or like a rake. I was wondering if it's supposed to be. I was wondering if it was.
Their
supposed to be an
goal is
homage.
to make all the celestial dragons step on rakes.
I thought it looked a little bit like a candelabra. I could be totally wrong.
I didn't think that much into it. I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah,
they've got
or just
X's
like a
on
very
them.
ornate sword. I was thinking maybe it was an homage to the hammer and sickle, in that it is a sword and some sort of tool for farming or something. I don't know.
It's a flying dragon seen from above.
Have you played Warcraft 3 Frozen Throne? The one frozen sword that's got like the super intense hilt guard, like all icically down. I think Oda's a big World of Warcraft fan.
Maybe.
That's my theory.
Totally
now.
possible.
I don't know how the hell.
I don't know. I figured it was X.
Heard about it.
I figured it was X. Like,
Yeah, that's true. He would have
Yeah.
talked about
You
it.
can't stop talking about Pokemon Go.
And in 2023, yeah.
Right.
Let's talk about the chapter, though. Daniel, what did you think of this week's chapter?
I threw a couple notes in the Discord server
I saw.
because my brain is terrible and I wanted to pull them on up. You guys told me last week, you already discussed, or recently you discussed whether or not Garp knew about the purging.
So last week we were discussing, I don't think we came to a conclusion, but you go ahead, you could discuss.
Okay, I think we're not. I think in a turn out he didn't know that. I don't think so.
I hope.
Like he's still trying to be like, I don't know how to put this, working for the bad people for the right reasons, and so I think that would push it too far over the line. But I think the outcome is going to be that Kuma possibly turned himself in or was captured in an attempt to rescue Ginny, if we are to be believing that she was kidnapped. That's my read of it, and that's how he got turned into this machine. Also, the dragon being confirmed to Garp's son, that happened recently as well, correct?
That was back in
always
his lobby.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw something in the chapter that made me think that was like being hinted at even more, but I'm
well,
like,
him being,
they said-
being in a Marine.
To be fair, he says Dragon is Luffy's father, and that we know Garp is Luffy's grandfather, but we don't know that the direct lineage.
Well, they have the same
but now we
surname.
do. They do have the same
Oh.
surname. That's right.
So
I remember what I was trying to comment on now. He's wearing a Marine shirt still when he rolls up here, and he's got that on with the 3 stars, and I couldn't remember what the 3-star rank was. Do we know what the 3-star rank is?
I don't think that's a Marine shirt, right?
I think that's a Marine shirt. Am I crazy?
I don't think so.
I'm not going to speak.
it doesn't look
It
like
looks
what,
more like a Che
the Vice
Guevara
Admirals
shirt.
or anything where it's
No.
just sort of like a...
Okay.
The star rankings you might be thinking of are the Cross Guild ones that they gave to.
They were also
okay.
in Dressrosa.
Well, that's
birdcage.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's what it is.
All right. That's
But
fair.
yeah, I mean, I was speculating a couple weeks ago that Dragon was in the Navy. I expected him to show up at God Valley. Maybe the timeline, he would have been too young, or maybe I'm not sure.
Well, maybe he was there as like a cadet or someone very young.
I mean, yeah. And, if it's just like, did he actually work with Garp at any point? I still wonder about that.
Me too. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think we're going to end up seeing Garp being directly in the know of what sent Dragon away from being in the military. I think Dragon is in the military, and I think what it's going to be is a line that was too much for Dragon and not too much for Garp, or Garp doesn't believe him.
I know they had that discussion with Kuzan. Garp and Kuzan talked about during that Battleship Bags chapter, like something like, "Oh no, my son became a revolutionary" or whatever. Yeah, I wonder. I am very interested. I'm sure we'll get a Dragon flashback at some point. Anything else about the chapter?
I genuinely love pretty much all the costumes we've been getting this whole arc. I don't know if you guys have talked about the Vagapunk swagger yet, but I think the entire crew looks absolutely amazing. And I think my biggest bummer when I realized we're doing this chapter is that we don't get to talk about any of the Vagapunk outfits.
You'll come
which
back
sucks.
whenever that resumes.
Deal. But the last thing I really liked was, so we get this division of the island, and I think it's 1.5 panels that establish like everything that's going on, or not panels, pages on this island. And it's like, it's such a little bit of world building. It's just, this island's being divided in two, and there's these laws going through. But this little bit of backstory with such a simple conflict makes you understand so much about Kuma. And I think it's like one of the gifts of Oda's storytelling, where like, yeah, the meme is that like this goes on and on and on forever, but there's so much happening in so little amounts of time. And I think it's why even there's been just like gas pedal to the floor action going on since the end of Wano. It doesn't get tiring, because even like whenever you do get those little gasps of air of like not action, it's just like spoon feeding you so many things to still dig into if you're a fan of the lore and the backstory and the character development. It's a gift of storytelling.
Yeah, agree. Marianne, your thoughts?
I really liked this chapter a lot. I find it fascinating, and what immediately popped into my head, because I know some actual pirate lore, are the actual real-life pirates, specifically Anne Bonny, that clearly Jewelry Bonny is based off of. So, bit of real pirate history here. Anne Bonny and Mary Read used to sail together, the two probably most well-known female pirates. And obviously at the end of their career, they were captured by whatever Navy government thing out there. But both of them managed to get out of immediate execution because they both pleated their bellies, which is to say, said, hey, we're actually pregnant, so you can't kill us. And they went, oh, okay, we won't do that then. There are historical records saying that Mary Read died in prison, but nobody knows what actually happened to Anne Bonny. But I know Oda sometimes likes to bring in some elements of actual historical piracy, like pirate history, into One Piece. And I am really wondering if maybe at this moment, like, Ginny is captured by probably the government. Why wouldn't they just execute her? They could use her as a hostage, but what would be better as a hostage than a child? So what if Ginny is pregnant now, and her baby, of course, would be Bonnie, which would make sense because obviously Ginny would work well as a hostage piece for Kuma, but if he had an actual child on the line, there would be no, like, because Ginny could say, hey, don't come after me, I did what I did, it's whatever. A kid's not going to say that. It would also fit with the, hey, Bonnie is probably younger than she appears to be.
And 14 years here at the end.
Yeah, so she'd be 13 max if Ginny is, like, barely pregnant or whatever. But I think it's very likely that that is the case, because it's pretty clear that Ginny is Bonnie's mom. Like, they are too similar in behavior and, like, whatever else, even if Kuma is somehow not her actual dad, which is a possibility, but not likely.
Marianne, do you want to take the helm here and shoot down any Ginny is Luffy's mom.
Ginny is not Luffy's friggin' mother. I understand.
But the bone in her mouth.
Well, okay, yeah, but
these people can't do math.
No, but also we saw a brief image of Luffy's mother in a flashback at one point, and she had like super long hair, and Ginny
I don't think we did. When did we see?
No, are you talking about Rouge? Are you talking about Ace's mom?
No, there was some scene, I forget where it was. Somebody pointed it out on the Twitters, where you see a lady with a ponytail and she's like singing to a baby, and I think it's implied, maybe it's not stated, but I think it's implied that that's Luffy's mom.
I don't know.
I don't think.
Okay, so maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure about that then, but no, I don't. It seems unlikely that Ginny would have had a thing with.
No, yeah, that doesn't.
Dragon. She's always been very clearly only into Kuma. Despite
she's
anybody
only
else.
into bears.
You know, which well,
I'll write that down.
That
to back up supporting evidence.
Well, but anyway,
Daniel, did you have a?
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Go for it.
I just want to say I want to back you up here because we also have the line. Is it showing, which is a weird turn of phrase. That's an odd thing to say. Well, she's covering her belly this entire time. You do not see her belly this entire 14-year point, which I'm just saying. Also, we have a whole lot of like people's ages being messed with right now. That could totally come into play.
That's true. Yeah, I really do think that she's probably like Pregosaurus Rex right now. And when the Navy finds out about that, they're probably going to be like, oh, even better, we can use this as a bargaining chip. And Kuma would absolutely, like, give himself up for that and for a child and let basically Bonnie run carte blanche. That would be like, why she's able to do what she did. And it would even make sense, potentially, if she was maybe partially raised at Marine headquarters. It would explain her, like, she's got kind of... Yeah, it would explain why, like, Akainu isn't like, I'm gonna immediately murderize you, because he's very murder happy. And even...
He is...
Even for somebody who had carte blanche, I think he would still be like, man, I wish I could kill you, but I can't. But if he like knew her as like a little kid, maybe there's some tiny bit of fondness there. I don't know. I'm maybe reaching a little bit, but
I mean, also I was thinking that Bonnie might be actually, if she's only 13, 14 years old, then possibly the Buccaneer heritage also could explain why she appears larger, despite. And then
That's
also
a good point.
having, then also getting her powers as well. So it could be a couple of things.
That's very true.
The Buccaneer blood thing is still what stops me from thinking that Kuma's at least a biological father, in that what Saturn says, that he is the end of the Kuma was the last of his people.
That's true.
And I mean, he's staring at Bonnie when he's saying that, so he would obviously... put two and two. And he said something like, you know what you did to my father. And I think he said something like, you mean Kuma or something like that. And also she just looks, as we've said earlier in this chapter, like a regular One Piece woman that Oda draws. So I feel like if she had Buccaneer blood, there would be something different. Although Kuma's our only, what do you call it? The archetype for
he's
that,
he's already half. Technically,
and he's only not even half. He just has that bloodline element.
So it could be that it could be that it just faded so much, like down through the bloodstream, that like she doesn't have it, or they could imply some more sinister things about Bonnie being captured right now.
I'm with you, especially because like the marriage line earlier, Oda is like rare on like people actually making boom boom, and so like having the marriage line makes me think like that's him leading into there is
I agree with that.
There has been like vague threats of what you're talking about. I don't want to explicitly say it because I don't know what algorithms are going to be involved in this podcast, but there's been like a few of those recently, which has been kind of shocking. This One Piece doesn't normally hint at that as often.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I would say that like the fact that she looks almost nothing like Kuma has anything to do with it, but Luffy also doesn't really look like Dragon at all. So
I was going to mention that too, is that bothers me more and more, and that there's something odd there. Because Garp, we saw Garp last week, and he did look a lot like Luffy in his younger years. So I'm like, what happened with Dragon? What genetics? I mean, to be fair, like my niece looks nothing like my sister, and just looks like my brother-in-law. So it's possible.
We're in a world where fruit makes someone look like a leopard man. I'm not going on genetic appearance too much.
There's also like Rebecca and Kyros, and they don't really look anything alike at all either. So
yeah, that's a good point. Okay, I'm overthinking it. So it's possible.
It's One Piece genetics.
It's the Buccaneer thing that is that's the only reason, because otherwise it's telegraphed pretty straightforwardly here. I think I agree.
I'm at the point where I'm looking at the crate and I'm like, oh, two. What can the two mean? Do we have two people that are actually in this one body?
You're a real One Piece fan here. That's a real online One Piece theory there. Watch as it is, and I'm gonna just make an idiot out of myself. Marianne, anything? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Dan.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I was just gonna say one last thing. I think the fact that we're seeing people with powers back on Egghead Island being messed with their ages is gonna come into play. I lean into the theory that it's either Ginny aged down or it's a daughter who is aged up.
I was thinking of the Ginny aged down thing, but it also makes no sense. I mean, she has like an internal monologue thinking about Daddy, and also she didn't, until she like stepped into the Kuma room, she didn't really realize what was going on.
Ginny has freckles and Bonnie doesn't.
Oh,
does she still have freckles at the end here? She doesn't.
Does she not?
She does.
The last page, right?
Well,
those are, it's just like
no, she doesn't.
Blushing. It's not really.
It can't be her, though, because you're right. It's dad, not father. In my head, I was like, oh, she's saying father. No, she's saying daddy.
Oh, yeah. If she said
very
father,
different.
actually, you're right. That could. But she wouldn't call him that either. That doesn't.
Yeah.
Marianne, sorry. Any other thoughts on the chapter?
I was mostly that. I got all excited about oh my God, maybe he's tying this into actual real pirate lore again. And that would be really cool if that was the case. But also messed up, because that was messed up. But, yeah, I don't know. I liked it a lot. I really love the flashback chapters. I always find them fascinating. So I dig it. I dig it a lot.
I'm going to read.
And now can I be a stick in the mud?
Yes, go for it.
Oda has a terrible habit of drawing his characters with awful trigger discipline, and Ginny is sitting there with a person to her right in the frame up top aiming the rifle upwards, and then when we see her in this big one, the rifle is down, her finger is on the trigger, and we know there is a person to her right. She is about to blow someone's head off on accident, and Oda does this all the time.
Well, if you're a woman getting unsolicited,
nobody dies from being shot with a gun in this series anyway.
That's true.
Fair.
One of the ways you.
What's his face in Wano?
Doflamingo had his special gun.
What's his name? Who in Wano?
Oh, and Odin to get shot.
Nami's mom in the live action.
The guy who was executed. I'm forgetting his name.
Odin did get shot.
Odin did, but that was also after being boiled for an hour.
Odin, but also the guy who was like actually executed up on the cross.
Yasui.
Yasui.
Yeah. He got shot a lot.
He sure did. He was
in
quite
an execution.
Yeah. He was quite ventilated, as it were.
It's been 3 years. I can't remember. Is Nami's mom shot in the manga as well, or is that a live action?
The Belmere, yeah, she is. That's okay. To be fair, that's a correct example. In the 4Kids version, sent to the dungeon, as we all know, never to be seen again. For those who lived through that. Jose, thoughts on the chapter?
So I don't have anything on the pirate lore. You guys covered that. And it's also, it's cool in One Piece, but it's more of a passing thing for me. The thing that always gets me about One Piece is the characters. And I just love Kuma. Just watching him try to do the right through his village and the pain that causes him, as well as like seeing that no matter how much pain he takes on, the people are still suffering, and so he's going to do even more to alleviate that and to free these people. It's just Oda accomplishes a lot with this character in very few pages. It's really compelling, and I also just love his relationship with Ginny. I also think Ginny is Bonnie's mom, but because again, that is it showing line. And just she's got the drumstick in her mouth. I'm like, that's I feel like we're really reaching here to call her, anything but Bonnie's mom. But their relationship feels real and organic, and just I really love it.
And you know what? I was wrong. She has her finger on the trigger to signify how she's going to bring a life into the world, and she'll take one out to balance it.
Yeah, that's
it. That's only fair.
Yeah, I know I'm pretty.
You want to say that again? Anything else, Jose?
I don't know. I love I also just love.
I'm not forcing
Ivankov.
You to say anything.
Just him coming back in general. I love seeing more about the revolutionaries as well. But again, the focus for me is always the character story, which is Kuma and Ginny. I think it's really well done.
Ed.
Yeah, this is you really see part of the degeneracy of the world government, just of the way they divide up the country, and the way that even when Dragon confronts the king, and the king was drawn just the way he's drawn in those two panels right there, with him very serious, very stern looking, and then with his kind of woo cutesy face, but he's just sort of he's just trying to get by as this part of the world government, and just includes I could reduce my tax burden if I just cut loose this part of the island and just sell all these people into it doesn't matter what happens to them, so it's just it's just the way that the world government system of government continues to degrade, and people are left out, and people who aren't protected by it, they just get stomped on, basically. And it really it's just part of a microcosm of what the revolutionaries are fighting against. And again, there's the aspect of Dragon. We do find out that he was in fact in the Navy at some point, but we still don't know what that incident was, whatever that inciting incident was, whatever happened between him and his dad, presumably. But we'll end up. I really hope we'll end up seeing that someday. But I'd love to see Kuma's devotion to his village is true. He really is a peaceful guy, and he's really trying to do his best. The way he takes on the pain for the old people, he really cares about everybody, and he wants everybody to be free. I think he really is a true believer. He really, Dragon really is his hero. So him getting to join the revolutionaries, and even after choosing, he doesn't go out to sea with Ivankov. He sort of stays here. He's trying to do the best in his community that he can. But he's seen he didn't choose to go out the first time, so he stayed, and he saw what happened to his country and the people that he cared about, the old people that he cared for, and then he was motivated. He was motivated to act, and now he's with the revolutionaries, and the Ginny story is, it's a very sweet sort of love story of these people who genuinely, over the course of a chapter and a half, become, it's realistically how close they become, and I really do think that that Bonnie is their daughter, which makes sense based on Vegapunk's talking about her like she's a younger child. So, yeah, I like to see where this is going. More of this flashback, please.
I love the way you put that, because I agree. Oda has this way of making you feel like you've been invested in this couple for longer than you have. Yeah. There's this ability he has to be by the end of this, you're like, oh yeah, Kuma and Ginny, love them. Been a fan of them for ages. You're like, oh yeah, love them forever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Senior Pink in Russian, and you're like, what?
I am still. Steve.
I'm glad Daniel brought that up, because I think that's what I'm going to talk about here. There is a staunch difference in Oda's pacing. I think because I just reread Chopper's Flashback, and it that comes from an era where I think Oda was like, oh, I kind of have to move things along here and really let moments breathe. This is you jump 2 different timelines in a single page here. But the thing is, though, at the end of this, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm so invested in these two, Kuma and Ginny, as a couple. For him to be able to pull that off with just limited panels and limited time, Oda was still able to really convey this relationship here, and I think he did a really good job with it.
I think Oda really nails the Kuma character overall. This is sort of everything we've been led to believe about this guy, that he's a tyrant, that he's a king, that but he's actually this tremendously caring person, even back to Thriller Bark and what he did for them after Sabaody. So it really is consistent with the way he behaves later on, even if he's losing his humanity.
I think Oda was just able to just whittle it down to here's the key moments here, and this is what it gets across. And I think it just did so much heavy lifting in here, and it's great. I think I know this chapter is not the introduction to Ginny, of course, but I think this is the chapter where I'm fully on board. I'm like, wow, here we got a brand new another classic character in the making here, just from these few chapters alone. I'm not getting attached because if I could quote our friend Jill here, it's like a mother's in One Piece. These two don't mix.
Oh yeah, absolutely not.
And so I already know. I'm like, wow, I'm gonna miss this character. I've already really grown to like her, and and her character growth, because I like that she's kind of like this. How can I put this? Very just spunky. Not necessarily. I don't know, the girl next door, but she's just totally just this firecracker, and Kuma's this big lug, nice easygoing guy, and it's it's the opposites attract. It's it's a really great dynamic between these two, and just seeing her aged up a little bit more in the Revolutionaries, and she's got the rifle, she's got the goggles and all that, and then chewing on a bone. She's great. And I'm like, wow, this this little badass here. And I think I'm just gonna, I think it's gonna break me when these two meet their tragic end, whatever that is, whatever that may be. But I think this has been so good because Kuma's just been such a mysterious character for so long, and now just really finally getting to see him emote and all this. It's been such a treat. I'm going to reiterate what Ed said too. More of this flashback, please. I'm really enjoying this, and don't speed up on our account, Oda. Take all the time you need, but I think he's still able to pace this very well. And I'm really looking forward to seeing shit hit the fan here.
With the shorts and the tank top, she looks like Tank Girl.
Yeah, she's very Tank Girl.
Yeah.
Were we recording when you asked the difference between what it's like to binge One Piece versus week by week?
I think so.
I think that was in the opening segment.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think we.
Okay. Thank you. Because I do want to comment. I binged it at the start, and I picked it up, started binging it again. I think maybe this is just because I put it down for a year. I don't know. But I think it's harder to binge now because he's become so efficient in storytelling. It lends itself more to okay, this week I'm learning about those people. Next week, okay, we're moving along this line. And because it's it's so much constantly, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. He's just becoming more efficient as a storyteller. He's really structuring things meticulously. But if you try and read 30 chapters at once, like I did, it's overwhelming. There is so much happening. It's like trying to listen to a symphony for the first time, but you're trying to pick out all the different things and keep them in line. It's really difficult, and I do not remember it being that hard back during Dressrosa.
I've never really heard anybody talk about this before, and I think that's a really good point. It is overwhelming when you binge it. I think he's deliberately writing it away. It's it's one chapter a week, but it's dense and it's enough. And I think I don't know. I think I'm speaking with a bias as a long-term One Piece fan where I'm remembering all these characters and stuff. But I'll try to read My Hero, and then all of a sudden it'll jump back to these characters. I'm like, who are these people again? What do they do? What were they up to? And I can't say that's a fault of My Hero. That might just be a fault for me, just being too into One Piece. But hearing you say that kind of makes me feel a little more validated, at least.
Well, all that to say that, like, now that I'm caught up, I'm going to stay caught up because I feel like it's the better experience. Like, I didn't used to have that strong opinion about One Piece, but now I do. I think it's a better experience to, like, 1 week a chapter it, because, like, I need a week to process this chapter before I can, like, jump into the next one that's not necessarily going to be following these people.
Right.
I'm always torn about that. And I feel like that's a discussion I could have in depth about, I think a combination of the two personally, where you take, like, a couple weeks off. And then, but you're right. Last week's chapter, I think, is the whichever one was God Valley. I think that was like the beginning. It just like I felt overwhelmed reading that just in that week because there's so it's what you said. And for this podcast specifically, we have to talk about all the different parts of that symphony and all the different instruments in each part. And so I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh, Roger's here, and Rayleigh's over there, and there's Whitebeard and Kaido, and the person from the Elder Neon for some reason is there. And so that definitely does lend itself to a more overwhelming experience, but I understand why he's doing it. I think the live action series also made his timelines much more condensed. He took a lot of breaks this year. I think he produced like almost half of what he had in earlier years. So I think that's a lot of reason for the rush, because I think he's trying to get the same amount. Sorry.
Let's put the biggest asterisk next to break ever, because we know he's not taking a break.
I think listeners know that, although we're all spoiled. That's part of the issue. When you're week to week, you're like, where is my One Piece? I want to talk about the chapter a little bit, though. Ed, you mentioned the look of the king, King Bakori. That was super reminiscent to me of, remember when Jinbei remembers or thinks of what did Kuma the Tyrant look like? It was a very similar looking panel. I wonder if, I mean, we know Big News Morgans makes up a lot of crap. We know the world government makes up a lot of crap. What if he never was a king in Sorbet and they just pinned all of this on Kuma later on?
Yeah.
No wonder why this king looked familiar to me.
That's
for some reason.
Possibility.
I mean, to be fair, Oda does portray ominous people in similar ways like this.
No, it's very similar to that panel of Kuma.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, we already assumed that it was misinformation that was spread. Not something we could relate to today here, but it was misinformation that spread through the world government or Big News Morgans. I think that was assumed. Yeah, so that's my one thing I wanted to posit here. I do want to just talk about, I've always been a huge fan of Kuma, like maybe like for the questionnaire thing I gave to Daniel at the beginning. I think Kuzan and Kuma are my favorite non-Straw Hats, and that remains the case. As the resident Jewish person here, I'm going to say that the Christian, the Jesus-ish, please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone, but it feels very analogous to like that whole, what is it, Christ trying to give the sins to... I'm the wrong person.
He's taking on all the sins by taking on all the pain.
But I mean, taking on the pain, it feels very like an analogy for that, or whatever the word is that I'm forgetting.
I now want to like go read all the Kuma stuff and look for like Christ imagery.
Well, they had the Bible. He had the Bible when he first showed up,
and he's in a church, and the church has crucifixes on it.
I had a thought in regards to that. Does Kuma believe in like whatever the One Piece God is, or
it's One Piece Jesus?
Yeah, but does he believe
which is Jesus Burgess?
Does he believe in Nika? Like, is his Bible, is his God just Nika?
I wonder. We were talking about like, what is a church in One Piece? Like, what is that?
It's not
I think
really religion. so much.
Yeah, there's a Buddha devil fruit, but beyond that,
wow.
And there's like a lot of homages to it. Like,
yeah,
this, I believe.
I mean, well, like literally, if you look at the church on like page 4 or 5, like there's crucifixes on it.
Yeah,
there's two. There's the one at the top.
There's one at the top, and there's a few windows. Yeah. So like, I don't know if obviously it's not literally Jesus Christ, because I don't think he exists in this world. It feels like, but yeah, it does feel in the same vein.
Yeah.
Was Nika crucified for the Buccaneers' sins?
I've always taken it as like, this is based off a time in a region where obviously like Christianity was super huge and a part of the imagery that's associated with like the pirate era. So I've always kind of seen it as like it bled over in some aesthetics, but I've never seen Oda like address religion at all, because he's already addressing classism, propaganda, like the morality of working and obeying orders when you know, like blah blah blah. I think religion is just something he's like, I'm not gonna.
The only time
he's like, I don't.
Except for Skypiea.
But he's not making statements about like religion and morality.
He was making. That was more about like deism, I guess you'd call it, like the
Enel claiming to be a god, and the other like Robin it was Nami and Zoro being like
Zoro was the.
Zoro's like, I don't believe in that. And Nami's like, I do if it benefits me.
Yeah, we've learned everyone's religion there.
I thought that was like soft enough about false idols to like not
that's true.
Be like offensive to anybody.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't specifically. This is definitely this chapter. I mean, I am not the person probably to be talking about it, but it did feel like it was a very analogous story to me. Like if I needed a primer in Christianity, I feel like this is not a bad like this is why people like it.
If you were getting into the Jesus fandom.
If I was getting into the Jesus fandom, now you know I'm going to get a bunch of emails asking me to find Jesus. This is going to be.
We get emails.
Which chapter should I start with?
Now, if we start talking about Ginny having a virgin birth, then things are going to get weird.
Which possible, given the series, as you said. I believe you put it, the boom boom is very rare in this series. I'm quoting. So there were other things I wanted to say. But, Jesus aside, I love the hell out of Kuma. It is like a realistic character. It's so in line with his character, as Ed said. The fact that the reasoning why he joins the revolutionaries, and most importantly, I think it gives a lot of credence to his future actions here. Whatever reason he sacrifices himself and his humanity, it's like that is going to be very believable when we get there, because he does it willing to sacrifice himself in body and spirit and so on for the sake of other people. And from where he comes from and the hardships he's endured is even more astounding, because he's really been just seeped in the worst of humanity from an early age, and yet is able to use that to really bring kindness and goodness and health and all of that to people. And also, though, when he sees injustice, he's also able to stand up for it. So yeah, I love the hell out of the Kuma character, especially in that we see his pupils now. And
I also love the idea of the Jesus analogy, just setting off a bomb to get his way. And being like, "Oh, you're taking slaves? Kaboom! Unforgivable."
Yeah, I think it is apt, and I was not expecting Kuma's backstory to go in that direction, but it makes sense now that we're here. The one thing I was going to say, the ending of the chapter definitely feels like we're ending in the middle of a chapter. I mean, it's a 13-page chapter, but we get, the reason I say that specifically is because we get Ginny's Oda box here saying Revolutionary Army Captain Eastern Forces. So I assume we're going to get the introduction of the West, South, and North, Kuma, Ivankov, whatever it's going to end up being. It just feels like we're kind of getting that in the middle. We didn't mention. Did we mention the feet, the silhouette, the second to last or third to last panel? That's probably who is capturing Ginny there. We have nothing. If anyone wants to comment on the shoe shape,
it's a foot. Yeah,
it's a foot.
If
I
anyone
could
notice
derive,
that.
me neither. It took me a few. If anyone wants to comment on the foot shape and it could be, who it could be, who has feet in One Piece, it could be anyone. Not
hold up. I have
Zeph.
a really weird.
Yeah.
Okay, so What a Mouth has like a crown on it, and it's. Do we know who What a Mouth is attributed to, or could that be the person who's arriving?
Wait, which?
That's
where
a heart.
are you?
No, on top, like outside the speech bubble.
Yeah, it's just sort of like for emphasis.
I mean, but could it be trying to hint that like
that's just an emphasis. Yeah, that's an emphasizer.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna double down. I'm gonna die alone on this hill.
Okay. Right. I'm gonna leave the
telling
hill.
us
we're gonna say goodbye.
It's
to you
telling
from
us
the
it's the
bottom of
king
hill.
showing up and taking her prisoner. And I have no evidence. I'm just gonna die on this hill now.
I think the last thing I'd say is it says it's in a certain country, which usually is Oda's way to say that it's a country we've heard of, or is important. And I wonder, it's not supposed to be sorbet, right?
No.
I don't know if I have much else to say that hasn't been said.
Even if you just compare the architecture in like this island versus when we were on Sorbet, I don't think it lines up.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The only reason I asked is the palm trees. They both have that, like, some palm trees, some not, some deciduous trees. Yes, I got deciduous trees into this manga recap, thank God. Okay. Unless there's any other thoughts pontificating on Christianity, we could move on into the next segment.
Bringing it all full circle, he's turning a fish into disappearing at the beginning.
That's true.
So...
Is he walking on the water, though?
No,
he's walking in the water. That's kind of like it.
There are no bread loaves anywhere, so meh.
Well, maybe that's what she's holding. Maybe that's what Ginny's holding. Bread
really
loaves.
weird.
That's some gnarly looking bread.
I have some moldy bread here.
This is the anime recap for episode 1080, A Celebration Banquet, The New Emperors of the Sea. I'm your host, Sam, and today with me we have the North Pole's own Steve Yurko.
Better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. I'm here for the anime recap.
Yes, and we are breaking the we have a triple anime recap technically this week, but we're breaking them up because we have Henry on for the following two. And so we're going to focus on 1080 for now while it's just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
The episode opens with the five elders are reacting to Luffy's wanted poster. And they're remarking on the picture. They're like, why'd you choose this picture? And why is there still a D there?
Imagine if it just said Monkey Luffy.
There are children around. Put that D away. I like the idea that you can unwrite his name in the public's mind.
Right? Yeah. Oh, jeez. Some people think the masses are easily manipulated, but
gotta do what you can, I guess. The propaganda machine does not churn itself. But we get this shot of like the printing press going crazy, and we see the new wanted poster. We see that he's got a Gear 5 picture for his wanted poster now. And Morgan's is just kind of like ranting and raving, like, yes, it's too late to cease distribution. Cypher Pole's last transmission was It's Big Mom, and then they went into Wano and have not been heard of since. That's big news, he would say.
Yeah, it's crazy that that's a huge gap.
Yeah. And so I guess like Morgan's just like intercepting the snail phones. Because I doubt the government is just like willfully admits to stuff like that.
but like this is going like Morgan's goes into like his creed again of how like he wants like the for the most part, like I think because this is like back in like when that one Cypher Pull agent tried to tell him to like pull a story and he refused, and he's like, no,
yeah, with the disguise.
Yeah,
this
I wouldn't say Morgan's is about getting the truth out there, but I think once he knows certain truths,
he lies on his own terms.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this episode in general is very reminiscent of that. That was like the first Megumi Ishitani directed episode when it was like kind of like the news to the world of like it was during one of the act breaks in Wano, and like I can definitely feel them like trying to evoke that same kind of style and energy here.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely got that. Like, definitely there's a lot of like, zany acting with Morgan's, which I think you should do. He's such an over-the-top character.
Yeah, and a lot of like a lot of very kind of like tasteful, like foreground, background, camera focus pulling and what have you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 'cause this is also... Oh, yeah, because this is the episode, of course, where it's revealed that Luffy is one of the new emperors, but we get the reveal of all the other emperors, right?
Spoilers.
Yeah, okay.
The world is reacting to the news of Big Mom and Kaido, and in inconspicuously in one of these panning shots of like the world and the townspeople and whatnot reacted to the news. There's this one town where like there's just a big giant framed photo of Sabo up in the background.
I don't know what that's all about.
Wonder what that's all about. And then like as they're like announcing that Luffy, Law, and Kid have all had their bounties updated to 3 billion. Like we get this like shot of them together like it's from an anime opening that then like lands on the whole Straw Hat crew.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, very reminiscent of that.
Back in Wano, yeah, like we got the shot of like one of my favorite anime isms that like live action I haven't seen them really try to do, but like that thing where characters like just kind of have like their eye line just barely out of frame, and they just kind of like there's that cool energy to it. There's like an atmosphere to it, and you got like Kid reacting
on the wanted posters. You mean?
No, like when we come back to Wano, the shot of Kid, like his head is out of frame. Like we see his crew kind of in the background, and in the foreground, he's like reading the paper and he's like storming off, and like his face is kind of like just always slightly out of, not always, but like for this opening shot, like we're pretending his face is mysterious for now for the effect.
Right. You're saying this is something you said something that's been lacking, or
no? Or it's something that like is specific to anime that I want to see live action stuff do.
Mm-hmm.
And Killer is rounding the crew up for a banquet, and the Heart Pirates are getting excited too, doing their Sentai Ginyu Force poses.
Like, yeah, this is like one of like the few chances we really get to see the Heart Pirates and the Kid Pirates, and you kind of forget. I'm like, oh man, they probably have bonds and stories similar to like the Straw Hats that
yeah,
we're not privy
and like
to.
the way that they have all this like camaraderie amongst each other, like even with their relatively grumpy captains.
Like it's so funny seeing the Heart Pirates do like this really hokey Sentai pose. I really like the way this was drawn. It was animated. Like the poses are very dynamic, and there's some fluid looking anatomy here. It's fun.
And then we get kind of a sequence of the cooks at the castle preparing the big banquet, preparing the big meal to share with their heroes. And then they come out with all the food, and Jinbei's the only one there because everybody else got tired of waiting for 2 hours for the food to cook. So they're just like out in the town and in the festival and chowing down on whatever they can find. Luffy and Chopper are running around with stars in their eyes, sampling food with Yamato. Yamato tries a candy apple for the first time, so we get his reaction to the sweet and sour candy apple taste, which makes me want some. It just seems.
I was about to say, I'm like, I haven't had like a candied apple in like forever. I kind of want to get down on that. I was gonna say the head chef has like such a very specific design,
mm-hmm.
and
it reminds me of.
I wondered if like,
yes,
of who?
He made me think about like that waiter in the live action, the Fishman waiter, just like with his weird like saggy face.
Oh, okay. I just thought like it's like he has such a specific design, and it felt like maybe I was like I don't know if his voice actor is like a cameo or something like that, but it felt specific. But no, like, and also I really like the lighting in the main room where Jinbei's sitting.
Mm-hmm. He's just happy to be there.
Yeah, and then like I really enjoyed the stuff with like Luffy and the others as well.
And then there's a rock concert with Brooke and Hiyori. That's great.
Yeah, this is new.
That's a fun detail.
Give Hiyori stuff to do.
And then we've got Robin sneaking around, looking for a poneglyph. Doors wide open. She just walks in. And Hitetsu shows up. He's like, "Huh? Do you like my Kokeshi doll collection?" And Robin's like, "I gotta be honest, I don't give a shit." And then Hitetsu does like a big like performative, like, "Oh, you hurt me so much. My precious collection. Nobody thinks it's cool." But this is all just sort of transitioning into Hitetsu finally taking the mask off and revealing that he is Kozuki Sukiyaki. He is Odin's father, who we thought had been poisoned and killed, but had actually just been, I guess, like locked in a room somewhere for years.
And they took away his shins.
And he came out. His son was already dead. He wanted to kill himself, but he's like, no, I have to prepare for the promised day. I have to, guide the heroes who will someday show up. But until then, I can't, show my face to the others. I'm too ashamed. I just like have such a distinct memory of like on the podcast when we were like making that connection that Sukiyaki and Hitetsu shared a voice actor, and like there was that Kokeshi doll connection. Remember that was like a disc piece.
The Kokeshi doll thing.
It's like a very small detail in the manga where like Sukiyaki is like playing with a Kokeshi doll, and like obviously, and like Hitetsu is introduced at the beginning of the arc as like a Kokeshi doll collector.
That's right. Yeah, I just know like me, the voice actor thing. I remember like being like, yeah, you don't do that within the same arc unless it's like a role you're reprising. I think like the One Piece anime is pretty good about that. So,
and Robin has determined that Pluton is on Wano, and she brings us up, and Sukiyaki admits, "Yep, that is true," and Robin is kind of taken aback, like, "Oh shit." And
I'm good at this.
Yeah, I read the poneglyph in Alabasta, and I just didn't expect the thing I knew to be confirmed that I knew it. And we cut to the former labor camp in Udon, and we got a man with a very dramatic tattoo that says Death River Double Suicide.
Edgy.
And this is Aramaki, aka Ryokugyu, aka Green Bull, the new admiral in the Marines, who is drafted at the same time as Fujitora. And
I'm surprised. Like, yeah, go ahead.
He's staring down at the Animal Kingdom pirates and who's remaining.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're just like free in Udon. They're not like cuffed up or anything.
Yeah, I guess.
That surprised you at all?
I don't know. I guess Udon is very far away.
Well, I think in the manga we kind of, I think a lot of this setup here is not in the original chapter. But I was just like, really, they're just letting king and queen just run around unchained.
I mean, they've seen better days.
I guess so. Yeah,
that brings us.
Points that out as well. Yeah,
they're having a stare down. That brings us to the Ankich of the episode, and Ryokugyu starts by sapping all the Animal Kingdom grunts, and then getting into this kind of really cool fight with king and queen in the rafters of the prison. Like, I guess where they're either rebuilding or we're adding on to the building or whatever.
It turns into an episode of Dragon Ball. Mostly because it's Naotoshi Shida animating most of this.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I like the. I generally like that very golden hour, like yellow sunset glow.
Oh yeah, it's great.
He saps Queen. He like drains Queen of all of his fat. And Queen, he's like, "Oh, I'm a dare not be skinny kind of guy. This goes against my image." And so yeah, Ryokugyu is cleaning up the mess. He's taken out King, Queen, and the remaining Animal Kingdom pirates. And one of his like roots like snaps at like a big thing of booze, and he like drinks it from there. He can drink it through his roots. But he's like, ugh, this alcohol is weak. I don't like it. And yeah, so he's taking care of most of the animal pirates, and he's talking back. He's making a call back to headquarters, and talking to himself about how much he likes Akainu and his extreme style, and how he wishes to be praised by him. He's like it's like Flampe and Katakuri.
Yeah, I forget what his age is, if we know it offhand, but he comes off way younger than the other admirals.
Yeah, possibly. He's I guess I think of him as being like in his 40s or something.
Probably. He just feels significantly younger than like Fujitora. For sure.
Yeah, and he's young enough to look up to Akainu.
Mm-hmm.
Momonosuke is having a memory of shortly after the Kaido fight, Luffy's saying like, "Hey, please don't tell the people of Wano that I was participated in this fight. I don't want to be seen as a hero. The people need to trust you, so you can take all the credit." Kids like coming into
typical
the
Luffy here.
Yeah. Eustace Kid is walking into the party. He's looking for Luffy. Luffy like rings him up and pulls him in for a hug. And there's a big like firework booming, and Jinbei doing his little toast. And eventually Kid gets Luffy to look at the news. Like, dude, I'm here for a reason. I need you to see that you're in more trouble than you think you're in. Because the paper has announced the new 4 emperors in the wake of Kaido and Big Mom's defeat. And they are Buggy, the Genius Jester. We're just opening with that.
That's a bombshell. Yeah.
Blackbeard Teach. We already knew that one. Red-haired Shanks. That's new. I'm surprised by that. Straw Hat Luffy. And each one of these is accompanied with like a cool Again, kind of like almost out of an opening, like a representational shot of where they are and what they're doing, mugging at the camera.
As we were saying early on, very Megumi Ishitani-esque.
Yeah, again, evoking that her first episode where we got that kind of montage of summarizing the story. Summarizing the different factions of characters.
Yeah.
And Ryokugyu, he's making his way to the festival. He's like, okay, that's where the party is. That's where Luffy is. I'm gonna tie him up. I'm gonna take him back to headquarters. I'm gonna get my high fives from the man. He's like the outside world is a big mess. Post Reverie, and then and he's got the plants all around him, the flowers. And the episode closes on a close-up of like I believe this is like a blue rose of some sort. To be continued. General thoughts on this episode, Steve?
Really fun. Some great vibes with like the celebration in the flower capital. Ryokugyu is like super intimidating. This might come off a little bit more in like the other episodes, but he really comes off as something fierce. Like he is like still goofy in like the One Piece character standards, but he quickly becomes unhinged and he's threatening. So I really enjoyed all his sequences here. Just great animation all throughout. Some really great character moments here. And this is when we kind of go around. We see like we've seen Kinemon and Otsuru, right, in this episode as well.
I don't remember. I don't have that in my notes here.
I think it was in this episode. Yeah. My one thought was like, I was really hoping they would kind of expand more with some of the characters from Wano celebrating and stuff, and we get like a little bit of that, but really not enough. And I wanted that last year, but it's not a deal breaker here. There's still some great stuff here. But just great atmosphere. Some really great, character moments here. Some really great character animation. Just this is like I thought like the quality here, like I don't want to say it's like a keep comparing it to Megumi Ishitani, but it felt very inspired by her episodes. Mm-hmm. And I thought like it came off pretty well paced too. It was fun.
I thought this was a wonderful episode. I like the individual beats we get with each of the characters, like relaxing and having fun and just sort of enjoying the piece that we have for now. The fight with Ryokugyu against the Animal Kingdom pirates looks like $1 million. This is like we're at the point where like the anime could be chilling out right now. Like it really doesn't need to be ambitious at all. Just like atmosphere, it's relaxed, it's fun, it's funny. It's like I'm just like amazed. I'm amazed that it's still chugging along and still looking and feeling as good as it does.
Mm-hmm. Like the Toei could be doing like a victory lap right now, but they're not, and
they could be taking a victory nap right now. And they're not.
It's great stuff. Like of course we're covering 3 episodes today, and just like they're a treat to watch when they came out and watch them all together again. It's been great. This is a good episode, and you're in for some even better stuff coming up.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to say before we move on?
All good, Sam.
All right, let's get Henry in here.
Let's do it.
This is a special double anime recap for episodes 1081 and 1082. I'm host Sam, and today with me we have none other than Edwardy.
Yes, it's me. Yeah, I really enjoy my bi-monthly binge of One Piece anime. It's a nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I miss those binge days.
I used to do the anime recap many years ago.
Yeah. And then I stole it.
That's one way of putting it.
And also joining us, we have Australia's own Steve Yurko.
G'day, mate. It's me, Steve Yurko. God.
President of Australia, I believe.
The Prime Minister.
Prime Minister.
My apologies. And we have a very special guest. We have Henry Thurlow here to talk about. He's been involved in both of these episodes.
Hey guys, nice to be back.
Yeah, always love talking to you, Henry.
Yep.
So we're gonna do our usual thing of kind of summarizing the episodes as we usually do. And Henry, you're free to chime in and get your opinions in wherever you like. Although, as we usually do it, you'll say your piece at the end.
Yeah, I think we'll probably stick with that structure. If I have something to say, I'll jump in, but most likely I'll just rant at the end for a little bit. Not too long today, I don't think, but a little bit.
So, starting with episode 1081, The World Will Burn, the Onslaught of a Navy Admiral. And we hard cut to like Shanks's, him and his crew are hanging outside of Wano. And Shanks is thinking about Momonosuke and Hiyori all grown up. He's like, oh, I wonder what they're like now. And he senses somebody. He senses that there's somebody of some stature who's on the island, who's not where he's supposed to be. And the samurai have sensed this too, and they're all preparing to stop the encroacher because, the Straw Hats are still recovering from their big fight, and they've decided, we want to be able to protect the country on our own. So we're going to deal with the threat ourselves. And then there's this cool kind of encounter shot as Ryokugyu, who's been he's walking through what looks like almost like a little botanical garden on the outskirts of the flower capital.
Well, isn't that just sprouting around where he's been walking?
I suppose it is.
He's making that himself, yeah.
Because he's not a tree man. He's a forest man. He's a woodsman. Like the woods as in a forest. So I think it's sort of, he does that wherever he goes.
That's cool. And and I like the shot of he's walking, he stops, he's acknowledging the samurai, and then we cut to this pan out of kind of the group shot against the sunset. So we get some big action scenes where everybody's kind of taking their turns, taking swipes at Ryokugyu. I like the shot where after they're all kind of attacking each other, and Ryokugyu, they're all falling out of the air, but Ryokugyu is keeping this weird back straight pose as he's falling through the sky. And this is when Ryokugyu turns into King Baum. He transforms and he becomes the Woodman. And sometimes I think he looks super awesome. And then in some shots you just see his kind of dopey face inside this big tree mech thing.
Yeah, but he also just kind of does. I mean, even in human form, he has a goofy looking face. So I mean, it does prevent him from looking cool, but he's also just naturally not cool.
Yeah, he's a weird. Yeah, he's a weird blend of.
He's also really one of the more threatening characters, sort of completely implacable, and although sometimes it's very dark. It's the screen is very dark during this fight.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say something about him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got to be, I think, the most difficult character to try to animate. Even more so than all the dragons and everything that I've drawn before. The dragons are super detailed, and all the a lot of the characters that I draw are detailed because like I add little details and lines and shadows and stuff. But this guy, like, there's no avoiding it. He's an entire forest. Like, I think a little bit of the confusion that you said of like he looks kind of different each time. I'll actually admit that. Like, that's kind of I think we all did a great job at Toei, but like I admit it was probably hard for the episode directors for these 2 episodes in particular when he was the forest man to control exactly how big he was, because like even the model sheet could only go so far. You know what I mean? Like, it's one piece of paper and you see him in the middle of the sheet, but it's almost unclear how infinitely the forest extends, you know? And the manga also, like, it kind of it's not a very clear form. It's just like he's a forest, draw 100 trees, or like tons of bark with tons of
irregular
leaves.
Details and
irregular details. It never looks the same twice. There's vines everywhere. Like sometimes he has arms and sometimes his arms are just all roots into the ground. It kind of depends on just what he wants to do at that moment. And yeah, like when I drew my sequences, I tried to draw it under the assumption that the forest was just going way to the left and way to the right, pretty much. With maybe like one exception, but for the most part, that's how I tried to convey it. Like he's always going off screen because no matter where you place the camera, he's always so big that it still doesn't capture his whole body. But there were camera angles that other animators had to deal with, which were clearly pulled back far enough so that you would see the entire scene. And yeah, like, where do you end it? You know? So sometimes it's ended like he's like one clump of trees, and then other times he's a forest. But that's not wrong necessarily, because he's just constantly in flux and changing. But what a hard character to animate. It's like impossible, really, like to animate a forest. So given that, I think the whole team did quite a good job.
Yeah. Like I'm like, the thing that I found remarkable is like how when he first transforms, his face is kind of obscured. Like he looks like the Terminator. Like he looks like he looks like kind of like this void with these red eyes. And then other times you see like his close up face, and he's got like this like very Oda face.
I love the high vis green paint. The way it really makes it pop on his like brown tree body. It's creepy.
And Ryokugyu is sort of he's soapboxing about the unregistered nature of Wano country, and he's saying like, oh well, the sacrifice of the few is essential for the peace of the many. So I feel no qualms about hurting the civilians of Wano if it means.
I feel no qualms about hating you.
Hey,
that's me speaking personally. I hate this dude.
Yeah, he's I remember when you meet him, you're like trying to like suss out what type of cool he is, and then he shows up and he's like, I am a suck up. I love Akainu. I want to marry him.
He's a bootlicker.
Yeah.
And Yamato jumps in and bonks him. And there's a very like kind of like a fluid and sketchy motion to this shot of like Yamato coming down from the air and hitting Aramaki Ryokugyu with his club. And then we cut to the outskirts of Wano where Shanks and his crew are admiring Luffy's wanted poster, which brings us to the eye catcher of the episode. We come back and Yasop's doing this whole bit of like, I don't want to see my son yet. I'm not ready. I'm too nervous. And we get,
I was never ready to be a good dad.
We get this flashback of the time when Shanks' crew was getting into a fight with CP9 when Who's Who was a member, and so we get like young Who's Who. We get this short naval battle. And then that's the battle that results in Shanks getting the gum fruit, aka human fruit Nika model.
This is another one of the suddenly CinemaScope moments.
Suddenly CinemaScope. There's a few Shanks, like even in the present, there's a few Shanks scenes that are like that, even the ones that aren't flashbacks.
I thought it was just the flashbacks. Huh.
And so we get like a sort of we get like a kind of a brief animation of the, they're getting a little less shy about showing Luffy stabbing himself in the face.
Yeah. Well, it's also like this is from Shank's point of view, I think.
Yeah, and Luffy like
also
he kind of like pokes himself lightly in the cheek, and then he goes
big reaction shot.
Ow, yeah.
I do like that this one's even like this flashback is letterbox. It's I don't know, it feels a bit more cinematic in a way. It's like you guys still remember the old days when they used to cut back to 4:3 footage, and they would have like the really bad map sidebars and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is reanimating it, but I think this is kind of it's interesting. This almost feels like, I totally feel like it takes me out of like the present moment. Like, I'm like, okay, this is something else. Even though it's not like it wasn't obvious or anything. I just thought it was a nice touch.
Yeah, I really liked the art in these flashbacks. I really like just like the style of the drawings of. I
love in particular the way Shanks's arm looks after it's been bitten off, like the blood stain on the shirt, but it's also wet, and it's very graphic. Actually,
should note that
for One Piece,
this is a very manga canon flashback because the way Luffy's powers are revealed is obviously different than it was in the original anime, but it's a long show. I don't know. I don't know if it was a deliberate choice or not, but
and this this shot of Shanks like holding up the straw hat, like so that it makes the circle up against the sun to be like, hey, think about this. Think about the symbolism.
Symbolism. That was a beautiful little piece of animation there, though. I really liked it.
I loved it. And then in the present day, the grunts in Shanks's crew are trading rumors about Luffy. Like, oh, I heard he's some kind of crazy monkey monster. And like Yasop, Shanks is saying no to seeing Luffy, which surprises his crew. And then Bartolomeo comes up. They're like, hey, that guy who said he worked for Luffy, Barto, whatever his name is. Here, he was causing trouble. Do we want to deal with that? And Shanks is like, well, yep, we gotta defend our turf, or else, our people will lose trust in us. So let's give that Bartolomeo a talking to, and we get some shots of the cover stories of Barto handing out, like the Luffy pins and setting the Shanks flag on fire. And Ben Beckman is off to the side reading the newspaper about Sabo killing King Cobra, which prompts us to watch the Marines, like Akainu and Kizaru and everyone else is in that room, having that same conversation. And this is like a big shock to us because this is our first time learning this. They were kind of teasing, like, oh, is Sabo dead? Did he do something? What's going on? And so the news to the world is that Sabo has killed King Cobra of Alabasta. And the revolutionaries, during the reverie, they stormed the place. They killed Cobra. They escaped with Bartholomew Kuma. And now Sabo is being known as the Flame Emperor. And there's like these rallies going on around the world. We got the shot of like this guy with a bandana around his wearing a bandana as a mask, and getting the crowd excited to follow the Flame Emperor Sabo's footsteps. And now we're back to Wano, and Momonosuke he's breathing dust clouds as he's trying to fire up his Kamehameha. but instead he results to chomping Ryokugyu, and this is where Henry's animation comes in, and Momonosuke is chomping at Ryokugyu. Ryokugyu is like twisting his like vines and tree roots around Momonosuke, and like pulling him in like these like kind of zigzag shapes to apprehend him. And then we have a shot of Akainu back at Marine headquarters, kind of looking out at sea, just talking to himself like, "Oh, what a troublesome age I've decided to become the fleet admiral in.
Poor me, my job is so hard. Me.
But I'll crush all those pirates." And then back to Shanks and Beckman sitting down and taking a drink, pouring the liquor, or pouring the sake, and Shanks saying like, "All right, I think it's time we head out and look for the One Piece." And I noticed that the animation was very it's choppy. Like I could have seen it either way, that was like a very artistic choice, or maybe there just wasn't like time to get all the normal in betweens, or what. It was the thought occurred to me.
My guess would be that's the style of the animators. I'm not the episode director of this one, and I truly don't know. Like I don't have prepped this time like sometimes I have in the past, like who did what and break it down for you guys. But that's just because I really was just an animator on it, so I only really know my section. But when I was watching it, it looks like most likely all of the sections. Yeah, it looks intentional. There's a, what is it? There's like a way of thinking out there that among a lot of animators, I think now, since Castlevania did it pretty well, that like, on things on 4s or 5s or 6s, like can look really, really cool, and trying to break things down to their simplest amount of keyframes. I mean, there's certain animators from like Gainax or Trigger that have done that in the past too, like if you watch Kill la Kill, like it's super perfect animation, but then all of a sudden there will be certain segments from certain animators where like there's only a handful of keyframes for the sequence, and it kind of moves like that. But yeah, like I saw people debating whether or not they like that online, and obviously you're entitled to your opinion. I think that it's probably intentional, though. I mean, that's not how I animate. Everyone knows, like I would ask for like way too many in betweens, and just like make it hell for the in betweener, and for like the whole staff trying to meet a deadline. But that's kind of how I like it. But yeah, different animators like different things, and I think that for both of these animators, the episode directors probably let them have their kind of style of motion. That's why it changed so much throughout both of these episodes, actually. That's positive and negative, negative in the sense that it's not consistent, but positive in the sense that each individual in-house animator,
expressing themselves,
freelancer, kind of gets their own personal way of doing it out there.
Yeah, Spider-Verse became like a very popular example that people use to express like, oh, here's 2s on 3s,
Yeah.
Episode 1082, The Coming of the New Era, The Red Hair's Imperial Rage. And we open with some carnival games of, Nami is like trying to win some prizes for Otama and Chopper by shooting a cork gun. And Usopp's got to introduce himself with this like extreme close up of his nose that he then like pushes up with his thumb at a curve. And then he wins the game easily.
I love the face from Tama and Chopper when Nami fails to shoot. Mm-hmm. They get a very just good shocked face.
We're feeding Zeus some candy apples, and he has to remark that nothing beats the taste of black balls.
Picky eater.
And back in the fight, Yamato is trying to intervene, but Momonosuke keeps urging him, like, no, you shouldn't fight. You shouldn't, you shouldn't be beholden to this country. And Raizo is using his special ninjutsu magic, which sometimes involves, like in at the end of Wano, or at the end of the fight when he was bringing out the water from Zunisha. Now he's summoning fire. He's burning Ryokugyu, and there's a big, long, kind of labored, like, psych. Ryokugyu is not affected by the fire. He says, "What could I be an admiral with such an obvious weakness?" He has a big attack called Firebreak Forest, and then he take his turns, like grabbing all the samurai. I thought there was a cool shot of like Shinobu, like coming at the camera here, but getting grabbed, and everyone's being sapped by his roots because he just like absorbs the water out of people. And now we have continuing.
He's kind of like
from the
Cell
episode before
that way.
He is like Cell, yeah. Continuing from the episode before, where Robin and Sukiyaki are talking about all the secrets of Wano. Law invites himself into the conversation. The door was just wide open, and he walks in. And they're heading down the stairs. Jack was able to find this like kind of secret basement room because he's a fish man, which prompts Robin and Law to wonder, well, what's the connection there? Why would being a fish man help you find the secrets down here? And they stop because there's like a window where there's light coming through, and even though they're already kind of below sea level, Sukiyaki's like, oh, hey, you can look for yourself if you want to. And Robin like crawls into the little crawl space, and Law teleports himself in and
just teleports himself in. That's such
Robin's Robin's like, that's cheating.
That's extra. You're very extra. Law.
And there's like a little window where they can look out, and they can just see like some sort of wreckage from 800 years ago, Sukiyaki says. And Law and Robin both know that probably means something related to the Void Century.
Probably just a coincidence. Probably just a sheer coincidence and nothing to do with it at all. That's what I would guess. Yeah.
So Sukiyaki continues to lead them down to where the road poneglyph is, and he admits that the ancient weapon Pluton is even further down, but even he hasn't seen it for himself because getting it out would actually require removing the walls of Wano. Like we get the kind of the story of.
It's interesting that the government understands that what the opening of the borders of Wano means, because it means that do they know that the weapon is there, or is it they just fear it?
No, they wouldn't because that's what they wanted Robin for, because she would have known.
Well, they know that something's going to go down when those borders open. So
the Wano is just like a big mountain, and there's like kind of this wall that goes up like halfway to the mountain that is like kind of flooded with the water, but it's not salt water. It's like fresh water kept in the walls. And if you take the walls down, that's how you can get Pluton out and unleash it on the world. And so Odin's goal of opening up Wano and kind of freeing the country and letting people come and go in and out of the country would have a consequence to it. It would mean letting Pluton out. And we get a shot of Beppo and Killer having some fun at the festival. Beppo's eating candy and Killer's eating spaghetti, which is just
through every hole on his mask.
I mean, that's why spaghetti is his favorite food.
It's true.
He can't eat it.
Back to the SBS, yeah.
And back to the fight, Momonosuke is explaining how he wants to fend off Ryokugyu. He wants to be able to prove that he can protect Wano because he wants to send Yamato off properly. Everyone's going in with this expectation that Yamato is joining the crew, and it's going to be up to Momonosuke and the samurai to protect the country, to protect Wano. And Momonosuke is trying to get the flames out, and then he hears a familiar voice. He hears Ben Solo saying, "Momo, use the Force."
Ben Solo. I mean Ben Kenobi.
Forks, use the
Ben
forks.
Kenobi. That's.
I'm curious, like, what is Ben Solo saying? Like, that lightsaber, it belongs to me.
But you knew what I meant.
Yes, I think I did. I'm like, or Sam.
I just referred to the name I've heard the most recently. But yeah, it's Luffy being like, "Oh, Momo, use the Force," basically, and that inspires Momonosuke to light out the big flame, big explosion of fire. It blasts Ryokugyu, and Ryokugyu's. I like the shot of like Ryokugyu's like burning, charred husk in the kind of like the background, as like the vines are like, I guess, going underground and like back up in the foreground with the smaller body of Ryokugyu. And this seems to have hurt Ryokugyu. This is different than Raizo's flames, but it hasn't put him out for the count. He's ready to continue fighting until he freezes because like red lightning bolts have grabbed him, it seems. He's like, what is this? Is this? And he immediately seems to recognize it as red-haired Shanks's energy. And back on the boat, Shanks's crew, like Ben Beckman and all of them are like, whoa, Shanks, this isn't easy. You can't just use your hockey willy-nilly. This isn't fair to the newcomers. So like, there's the newbies on the crew who are just like passing out from the energy from the Conqueror's hockey. And Shanks gives his big speech of like, "Oh, are you so afraid of the new era? Are you so afraid of what these whippersnappers might do?" And we're getting all these flashbacks of like Luffy as a kid. We get the silhouette of Uta as a kid, which is directly from the manga.
Yep.
And the episode wraps up with the monster now of Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei. They're all like hanging back out. They're all back hanging out at the party. They all sense the hockey. They're all like kind of spectating the event, and they're just kind of pleased that they didn't have to jump in themselves. That were
using
able
their
to
observation
take care of it. Yeah, with the help of somebody else. Yeah. Some Conqueror's hockey. And Jinbei's like, well, I wonder who that was. I wonder what that big energy was. And Luffy's just like, I saw a familiar face. And we get kind of like a quick cut of like kind of like the side of Shanks's head, just getting the impression of his red hair. And then Luffy touches his hat and he's smiling. He's like, "Oh, I saw an old familiar face." And he knows what's up. And then to be continued. Henry, would you like to talk about 1081 and 1080?
Sure. Let's see. 1081. Shoma was the episode director. Episode 1082. Was the director. I work with both of them, like right in the same room, so it was easy to communicate with them the whole time. And both of them gave me like a crazy amount of freedom. They like I used their storyboards as a base, so they definitely storyboarded the sequences, but I told them, and I can't do this with everyone. Depending on who the storyboard artist or who the episode director is, they might want you to stick with exactly what they drew exactly. If I worked on something Ishitani-san made, for example, everyone loves her and for good reason, but she would be strict. She would be like it has to be this angle with this light source and all of these things, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, because she has it in her head, like, there's not a right or wrong way to go about it. Like going with the flow and letting artists do their thing isn't necessarily the wrong answer either. You just have to have confidence in your method. So her method would be like, she's confident that she knows what the good angles are. So, you got to stick with that pretty much. And there's a bunch of other people that would be the same. But both of these guys were like, here's my general storyboards of like how Momonosuke attacks, and if you have another idea, just go for it. So like I forget what it was in both counts. Actually, the story's kind of similar. Like I took 10 or 11, 12 sequences or whatever it is, and I ended up like merging them into just like 4 sequences because I was like, I think like these camera angles generally work, but by actually linking them, or by like not using this one and using a different thing in place of just this one, we can link these other ones. So the base idea is from the episode directors. Like I would never, for example, in 1082 have come up with like Ryokugyu Green Bull like blowing up and then Momonosuke as a dragon form kind of coming in from the back to create like this silhouette of him flying through the air. Like it was a very weird angle to me, but I didn't dislike it. I would have never came up with that. So I thought of that as kind of like a challenge. Like, okay, let me try to animate a sequence like I've never really animated before. Like a character in the foreground and a character in the distance as silhouette, and try to get this to work. So, but I like that about the story that Inutsuka-san drew in that case. But it needed to get finessed. Like I had to, like, I think the way the dragon came in and the way that Greenbull blew up was totally thought up by me to just kind of connect sequences, but the episode director they do that, so I thank them for that. And yeah, I like almost usually I also come on here and talk about the Sakan, the episode or the animation directors that like alter your sequences a little bit. In these cases, I got almost no corrections. For 1081, I got like a couple little faces, even on Momonosuke, which in the past I hadn't, but there was like hey, could you just draw the eyes this way for these 3 sequences or for these 3 keyframes or something like that. And Greenbull's face, like, hey, could you make sure his chin looks like this and his mouth looks like this? Okay, no problem. But for 1082, I got literally 0 corrections. I think it's the first time I got literally 0 anything, like nothing on the timesheet, like not even one line, not even like a memo. Hey, when you clean it up, make sure the smoke does this or something. Like it was just like I got it back and I was like, there's no notes here, and they're just like, just do your thing, Henry. Like just do what you want. I was like, God, that's crazy. So yeah, just lots. I had lots of freedoms for freedom sequences. And I just worked out, like I knew that these were kind of the last of Wano Kuni for my first One Piece work period was the beginning of Wano Kuni, so 903 with Sumo match. I just worked as a freelancer on that episode, and then worked as a freelancer on a handful of episodes past that. The first time like Kaido shot his boar breath, that scene wasn't me, but I worked on that episode. And then like the punch during the jail, Kaido Dragon a few other times, and then eventually entered the studio And my first in-house production was the black and white Akazaya scene, and then since then you've had me on the show a bunch of times and to talk about the different scenes I did up until now. And so for me, like, Wano Kuni is everything as far as my piece, like, job, career is concerned. So it's been quite the journey, and I just after 1066, I didn't know, like, my mind was just a blur because that took so long, and I had to focus on that for so long. So after that, I just took a bunch of, like, Dragon, like Momonosuke sequences, basically 1076, and then these 2 Rokugyu episodes. And I just tried to make them as good as possible while delivering what the episode directors wanted. Like that's kind of the story of these episodes. The one sequence that, like, is unique and stands out is the very last one I did, which is Green Bull kind of growing from the ground. That one I, like, changed radically. In the manga, he kind of, like, grows kind of pathetically. He's I think he's saying, like, Yui show or something like that, like, let's go, like he's like miserably kind of. But I was like, for the anime, I think it would be cool if we keep this admiral, like, looking, as dope as could be. Like admirals are supposed to be, like, no joke. And so I just went off and did, like, my own wild animation, which I didn't know if it would get accepted or not, because, like, it almost doesn't even look like One Piece, if I'm being honest. Like, the face is like a face, and, like, I had all just these crazy vines swooshing around. It's almost like just a short film of mine. Like, I just want this crazy wild, like,
were the boards,
like, body
closer to the
but they were cool with it. Everyone, the episode director and the animation director, were like, yeah, this looks cool, yeah, let's go with it. It links with the other sequences just fine. So that was a fun one. That was a really fun one to do.
I'm curious if the boards were closer to the manga.
Yep. So from here on out, it's post Wano Kuni stuff.
Steve,
did I come through at all? Or maybe I'm on a delay.
I hear you.
I can't hear you guys.
Oh,
hello.
So Henry, hello.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay, that's weird.
Let's make a note of this for Delaney. Yeah, we can hear you.
That's weird. For some reason, I can't hear you. Actually, it says something in Japanese here.
Maybe it's a case of.
Hold on, I'm going to change my. What? Hold on one second. Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, okay, now I can hear you. Sorry. Something happened with my headphones. I was wearing my headphones. So you heard everything I said? I hope I didn't interrupt.
No, stream froze.
No, we heard you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No,
I might have interrupted. It might have sounded like I was interrupting a couple of you guys if you tried to jump in, because I wasn't hearing your responses. So.
Yeah, that's.
Well, Steve was trying to.
Steve
was trying to jump in, and you were just, like, going.
Oh no! I feel.
Well,
bad.
you did. Ask your question, Steve. I want to hear that, actually.
Cool.
Yeah, we can have Delaney clean that up.
Yeah. I was just curious with the scene you were just talking about, where Yokyugu, were the boards closer to the manga originally?
They were incredibly rough. So different episode directors do it in different ways. And so Inutsuka-san's method is like, here's my basic idea, but I'm not making it clear for you. I'm just saying, like, this side of the screen is where the character is. This is where that is. So, like, in the distance, the burning body; in the foreground, the flower coming up and ending with the cape coming down. Like, the transformations should follow through until that extent. So that was my guideline, but that was pretty much it. Another story artist might have roughed out a specific way that he should transform. I wanted him to become a big leaf first. In the manga, it looks like he kind of becomes almost one big leaf, and then kind of the body forms from there. But yeah, the storyboards were like, do your own thing, just so long as it starts at this point and ends with the cape coming down. So I went, but this speaks to like why I feel comfortable working on the One Piece staff. Like, of course I love One Piece, so this is, you know, a dream job in and of itself. But I got to be honest, like I like other anime too, and as you guys know, and as viewers or listeners of this who've heard my other things before know well, I think like I really kind of like the adult themed, like the super violent, hyper violent, like thing. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't mind working on some other projects, even just a freelancer. You know, like Attack on Titan and you know, Ghost in the Shell adaptations and things like that, but I don't think I don't think anywhere in the world like would give me so much freedom. Like I'm just vibing with the One Piece staff right now, you know, and like on this project. Mm-hmm. And this sequence is a perfect example of that. Like I was just like, I got super basic guidelines. Like it starts here, it ends here. Have fun animating something crazy in the middle. Maybe that would be the case for other series too, but undoubtedly I would get then a dozen corrections back when I handed my work. Even at the skill level I am now, that's just how the process would work, right? Like I would be like, hey, here's my sequence of the guy running up the building and punching the other person in the face or whatever. And then it'd be like, okay, Henry, that's great. And we're going to keep, you know, half of what you did, but then also all of this stuff and all these drawing corrections are going to be introduced, and that's, you know, that's fine, that is the process. But here on One Piece, like I did this crazy insane like transformation sequence for Green Bull that is just like 100% just my, you know, it's like what I like. It's like my likes and dislikes and crazy little quirky things that I appreciate in weird animation. And they were just like, yeah, like go ahead, like do it 100% yourself, make the alien face, make all like the vines, do everything you want, and then it'll just be a part of this, you know, world famous franchise. Like it's crazy. Like it so yeah, that's why, like for me, for sure, that's one of the reasons why, like at the moment at least, yeah, like I definitely want to, you know, stick with this staff and see what I can do. I mean, I've it's not just a matter of freedom, it's also like I have all of this to thank for getting so much better. Like I always, like even if you go back a few years ago when I did the sumo match, like I felt like I was good, like a good animator, right? Like I had moved to Japan. I had this whole, you know, resume of tons of stuff I had done and directed. So obviously I wasn't bad, you know, but looking back, holy cow. Like when I got those screenshots for 9.3, I also looked at some screenshots of some other of the early episodes, like the first time I drew the dragon. And like, man, I'm like, oh my God, this Kaido face is terrible. Like, what was I thinking? But the fact that I can recognize that shows me myself that like I've improved a lot, you know, like even what I was handing in a few years ago that people were even liking on One Piece. But, you know, when the dragon came out, people were like, oh, this is a really good dragon. Like Henry Thurlow animated that well. But that I can look at that and be like, oh my God, that's horrific. I would never draw anything like that now. You know, shows me I improved. And I really have just the One Piece team kind of to thank for that, for giving me freedom to actually go crazy with some sequences. Because I, you know, in hindsight, I was always nervous. Like, you know, I worked on Tokyo Ghoul a ton and I worked on Naruto a bunch. And it's not that they changed my stuff 100%, but it's just that they changed so much in the process that I was not confident enough to just go wild with stuff, because it was my correct assumption that whatever I hand in is going to be reworked a lot. So let me just hand in what they're hoping for and maybe add a little thing here and there. And then hopefully we can reach an end point where everyone's happy and the process moves smoothly. And that's what I was trying for, as opposed to like, how do I make the most artistic, wildest stuff? But yeah, so I know that was a whole rant just from your one question, but that transformation sequence is a perfect symbol of like why I'm improving, why I like working on this series, and yeah, just like everything I like about my experience of Wano Kuni. It's crazy that a single animator gets to just go that wild, and it's like to be part of the team that would let me do something like that.
No, but it's super relatable, because I definitely think, you could, in this line of work, you could find yourself squandered sometimes when it's like, oh, I know this is the style of the show, so I'm not really gonna put the things that I like to do or some creative things in here. This is safe. This is what they want. I
feel for you, man. I feel for you 100%, because like, as again, everyone knows, like, who's listened to me a bunch of times, like I worked in New York for a while, and like I was fairly lucky in that super jail, kind of the one thing that I worked on was giving me a certain amount of freedom also, but even still, like, just every job in the West doesn't, like, if you can find 5% freedom to add something little and it makes it through to the final end result, like, you're lucky, and you should point that out to everyone. Look, 5% of what I did comes through. And so I know, like, that's the standard. That's the worldwide standard. Like, animators listening to me talk right now, almost worldwide, are shrugging their shoulders. This doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound like my job. And I'm aware of that because I've worked on all of those other productions. So yeah, like, I just feel bad for everyone, because it really should be like this. It should be animators coming together, adding all their craziness, and then seeing what the end result is. Now that I've experienced that for the first time, I see that is how it should be, but it just isn't almost anywhere. But current One Piece is pretty much across the board like that. So yeah, it's pretty awesome.
When we were talking to Kofi earlier this year, I think the term we wound up using was like animators playground for One Piece. And yeah, I think with all like the Gear 5 stuff that's come out like over the summer, a variety in styles, and it doesn't seem like just, and yeah, and this is a knock on any of the animators, but it's like, it seems like being on model is not necessarily like a main focus of the show anymore, because I think of Film Red, and it's not like a huge knock on it, but I felt like visually that was a pretty safe movie in a way where it's like, it looked like One Piece all the way through, like it looked like the One Piece anime or the previous films. And just where the anime has gone, especially just in this year, is like, wow. It's like, I would not expect, half these animators to just do what they do, and just seems like, yeah, this is good.
Yeah, like even since the beginning of Wano, where like there's a definite like shift in the art direction, like where the Wano started and where it's ended up is so huge even.
And it's crazy because everyone was raving about how good early Wano was. Like, oh man, look at how cool, like, the new.
And it was. It just it just escalated.
Yeah, even the first few Dragon episodes, like the one that I was on, and then and even more so than the next one where like Bahi JD was on. Everyone was talking about like, oh my God, look at the pinnacles that we're reaching. And now, like, it's not people don't still like those episodes, but it's just like they're not even contenders for top 5 or 10 episodes. You know what I mean? Like in terms of wild, crazy 10 out of 10 animation the whole way through. So that's just that's nuts. I hope it continues. From my for my part, like it seems like it will, and I'm staying on the staff. Some people are like, "Oh, where are you going now?" I'm not going anywhere. Like I'm still there. I'm still doing my thing. So, but one thing, this isn't like foreshadowing anything. It's just a general life kind of a comment about life in general. Like nothing stays the same, right? So like the series as it was during the 700s with Dressrosa is not how it is now. And then, it won't be like this forever either. Just because, and that goes for other series too. There's a lot of, Tokyo Ghoul actually gets it a lot. Oh, season 1 and 2 looked this way, but then future seasons, looked a different way. How come they changed it? It's because people go places, staffs change, mentality of, the chief directors change. So, will Nagamine-san stay on as like the chief, director, for the rest of the entire show? I kind of hope so. But, if it changes, who takes his place? Maybe it's someone absolutely with brilliant ideas, or maybe it's someone who wants to calm things down. Like I don't for this series or any other series. That's why you just appreciate it kind of happen when the crazy staff and all the good ideas are all together in a room at the same time. Then and only then will episode after episode after episode of any given series look so amazing, right? If it's a like a 12 episode one core kind of show, good for a second season, but you can't get back the exact same team and the exact same energy, then it'll be different in one way or another. So I would just say, as I would ask fans to do what I'm doing myself, which is like appreciate it, appreciate this moment of like the series that we all love, actually having amassed a staff that can deliver this. You know what I mean? Because it'll go up and down just naturally with time. But at least in this moment in time, like something really special has been happening and is happening. And so, yeah, just appreciate it. I would say that's what I'm trying to do myself as well. Appreciate that I can make sequences like that transformation sequence I did for 1082, because I don't know if I'll always have that amount of freedom. But I hope I do. And I just appreciate it now.
But no more dragons.
I am happy that I'll be changing it up from here on out. I like drawing the dragons. If it sounds like I'm planning, I'm just messing around like online, oh my God, more scales, and they can drive me crazy. But of course I like drawing big monsters and stuff. Yeah.
So on the difference between dragons and Ryokyu, like, is there any sort of like automated process for getting those scales, or is it just busy work?
Oh, it's just busy work. I mean, some people, I wouldn't copy and paste and skew or anything like that. It would end up coming out weird. Just busy work. Just when you're in the cleanup phase, in the layout phase, it doesn't have to have all that detail. A couple frames to show like what your plans are. But when you do the secondary key animation, the cleanups, and then the poor in between animators, you just gotta, all right, here I go. And then like I start right under the neck of the character, and it's just like arch, 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 arch. And then I just move down the body, frame after frame after frame after frame. And then even when I'm done, both Kaido and Momonosuke, their scales are two-toned, so like it's like a darker shade of blue inside lighter blue, or a darker shade of pink inside pink. So even when I'm done and I drew like the 150 scales or 300 scales or whatever it is, then I go back to the top of the neck and I take a different color pen, like a red pen or something, and then I have to draw a smaller arc inside every one arc, right, to get that variation. So it's just like, it's just you put the headphones on, start listening to music, and then just zone out, and it's just boom, 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 boom. And it might take a couple days of cleanup or something, but eventually you'll be like, oh, I finished all the frames. All the frames have hundreds of scales on them. It's done. and that's when you hand it in. But it's just like you just have to do it.
And people, the animators had a hard time with Cell back in the day.
Oh, from Dragon Ball, yeah.
Well, but that is also difficult. I mean, yeah, the scales are like uniquely crazy, but man, you'd be surprised at. I mean, the only person who wouldn't hear Steve, but like detailed characters are always hard, and like there's a lot of things that can be detailed. To this day, one of the most detailed things I ever drew, I was an in-between animator at Piero, and so I wasn't the key animator for this sequence, but I did in-between animation, all the cleanups and in-between animation for one sequence of Akatsuki no Yona's opening animation. And there's this one character, and I'm blanking on his name, but like he wears a mask, like he has like a face mask, and like he has like blue hair, I believe. And like in the opening, he just like he comes up on screen and I think like takes his mask off or something like that. And that was this day, even with all the scales, considered like one of the most detailed things, like equal to at least even the craziest scales, because he had designs all over his outfit. Like he had like a neck, he had like two necklaces on at the same time, one with feathers and one with beads, and then like his shirt had like on it, and the mask had a pattern on it but also cracks in it. And it's like people might not realize like just Japanese anime in general, more so than other places animation, it's just the character designs just go as detailed as they want, and they don't even take into account like the animator's feeling at all.
No.
and which is terrible and good though, because like nowhere else in the world, like everywhere else in the world would be like, oh, there's too many lines on this thing, this is ridiculous, let's simplify it. That's the note, and the character designer has to back with that. But in anime, they're just like, oh, 30 necklaces and they all have the feathers on it. Sure, yeah, animators can draw that. Done. Yeah, it's fine. All right, whatever.
I mean, I say that about Odu sometimes, where I'm like you got to draw, like people got to draw these characters all.
Yeah, it's well, and that, you know, it's interesting because like one thing that you know, back when the big three were all coming out, like I think a lot of people thought like One Piece was, you know, this art wise the simplest, right? You know, Bleach and Naruto, they're ninjas, but One Piece is the goofy, cartoonier looking, you know, those don't even have to, you know, look realistic. They can have like kind of almost rubber hose arms. So, you know, it's like looking at the characters, it almost feels like, oh, the One Piece characters are clearly much more simple to animate. That's really not necessarily the case. Like you have to look at the amount of lines, you know, like the amount of lines, like whether the character's face is cartoony with a big nose or not. If there's 1,000 lines all over the character, like Green Bull, let's say, like, you know, his face is goofy and simple, right? Big lips and stuff like that, and you know, big cartoony eyebrows. But man, that's definitely that doesn't mean it's easier to animate or takes a shorter amount of time than any of the more realistic, detailed stuff out there. Like if you look like line for line, yeah, One Piece, especially not just recently, but especially recently, like, yeah, Oda just doesn't care at all. like kimonos with different, you know, variations on it. I mean, Kid in and of him, that should be like animatable, you know, like
just through an illustrator's point, like perspective here. Kid and Kaido have been two of the biggest pains in my asses. And I'm not going to miss them for now.
Oda finds a way to actually add details to lots of things like that. Like almost every character is detailed because of little design, like aspects. Like even Law, like he's not just wearing a hat. His hat has to have like diamond shaped like designs all around it. But everything does that. If you go character by character, like no character is wearing a shirt. He's wearing like a shirt that's frilly and has some words on the right side and buttons on this side, and
everybody's got a big coat that they're wearing as a
yes, and the pants. Kid is a perfect example of this. Like, I'm done drawing the top half of Kid, and it's like, okay, great. That means I'm probably done, right? And then like you look to the bottom half, and it's like he's not just wearing pants. Like his pants are like broken up into like 3 different sections, and the top section has like spots over the whole thing. So it's like, oh, now I need to make this leopard pattern, on every single leg for all the keyframes. It's just, there's a lot of detail, man. One Piece, especially current One Piece, has a lot of detail. But yeah, characters like Green Bull just go over the top. Anyway, that's that's kind of so this will be the last time I'm on where we're talking about Wano Kuni at all. Anything after this will be post that. So
gonna be all moon shoes.
Yeah. Final Wano Kuni related questions or anything? No, all done.
Time for the Land of the Future.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, yeah, we always like talk at length with you and so much, and like I think you like I appreciate you going back and talking about your first episode with Uroshima all the way back then. And yeah, I really enjoyed because I've been rewatching Wano too with the English dub, and yeah, and I remember back in 2019 I was like, oh my god, the anime looks like astounding now. And like go back and see it, and I'm like, and like knowing where it went, I'm like, wow, I thought this was good. I like that we got a chance to cover that, and it's like no knock on those early anime episodes, but
right,
like Wano is truly, it's going to be remembered as like kind of like the arc that just made this like this huge shifts in the momentum in the anime, and I'm just glad that you were there from the beginning and and got to ride that out. And
thank you.
And hearing and hearing that you felt like that you improved along the way.
Yeah,
it's great to hear.
Look at when you get, you probably already rewatched it, but if you rewatched 913, which was my first Dragon episode, like I saw a screenshot just online recently of when I drew Kaido, and like there's a silhouette of Ashira Doji and Denjiro before Denjiro was revealed. They're just like silhouettes. Ashura Doji and Denjiro, and like at the time I was like, oh, I'm drawing this really cool detailed dragon. But if you look at it now, like that face is horrible. Like it's a really bad drawing of Kaido. like now that would be totally unacceptable. Like anyone drawing that, not just me, anyone drawing that would be like, oh, someone failed at drawing Kaido. And I thought that was really good at the time, and everyone kind of did. Everyone was like, oh, nice dragon face. But like now it's like, oh my god, this is horrifying. So there's no way I didn't improve. When I see that, I'm like, oh wow, yeah, I'm different for sure.
Well, Sam,
I really enjoy talking to you, Henry. These are always highlights of doing the anime recaps here.
All right. Yeah. Well, guys, I will see you in the future. Ooh.
This is the Piece Together segment where we take your questions, comments, theories, and determine whether or not she's only into bears. Marianne, you cursed us for that. Yeah. So you got a motley crew. You got a motley crew. We have Jose and Marianne sticking with us. You probably just heard Henry, Steve, Ed, and Sam on the anime recap. Big thanks to Henry for coming on. We're recording these simultaneously, and that's why we've broken into groups. Let's start, though. Can I do an Ed here? Dispiece. Yeah, that doesn't sound like Ed. Okay, so let's see what we got. I have not read these ahead of time, so this will be fun. First one comes from Revolutionary Eye Patch, who says, "Hey, OPP, which of the way too many streaming services would each Straw Hat get?" Do we have to go through
Well, they should all get
Just...
Max.
Oh, well. Okay.
I have no conflict of interest with that.
Streaming service? I think Nami would be like I am and maybe have one, but then borrow everybody else's.
I was going to say. I don't even think she'd have one. I
she
think
might
she'd borrow
not.
off of everyone's. Yeah. And when Netflix, she'd be pirating when Netflix did that.
She'd be the one running
Nami's
the
not a
pirate
role model.
She's
She's really not.
That's why I love her. I mean,
whoa!
Don't promote pirating. I don't promote pirating, but I do love Nami in her ways. It cracks me up. Anyway, yeah.
Luffy, PBS Kids.
I feel like he would want one of the stations if they had there's like that robot fighting show because he'd be into that.
Yeah,
I don't know what
that's
on
on Discovery. I think. Yeah.
I think he would want a Food Network of some kind.
No, that would make him angry because he couldn't eat
Sanji
it.
would want that.
Oh yeah, Sanji would want that. So Max for Sanji.
I think Frankie would have all of them, and so might Usopp.
Frankie would just hack into them.
Maybe.
Yeah, Frankie would somehow be able to do that.
He'd be able to do it. Usopp would lie and just say he has them all, but he doesn't have any of them.
Yeah, that's right. He just has what do you call it? The digital antenna.
Yeah, he watches over the air television.
Chopper's our resident Crunchyroll haver, I think.
He is.
Yeah.
He's a weeb.
Robin would only have like the PBS and
Discovery Plus.
No, but also
not like
really
trashy
grim.
Discovery Plus.
She would like things about death. She would love murder shows.
It'd be all true crime stuff.
Right.
True crime and then any
crime.
news thing.
So
yeah,
Max.
Oh my god. CBS also has a streaming service.
It's called Paramount Plus. Yeah.
No. See, but there's the CBS News, CBS and
that one.
Yeah.
Well, that's a free one. Well, I guess they all have Tubi.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone has the free ones because they're free.
Yeah, because they're free.
Pluto TV, where you can watch them all for free. Yeah. They'd be watching One Piece. Next one comes from. We spent way too much time answering that question. Felix,
but they all have
Cutler.
Max.
Maybe HBO Max.
There's no conflict of interest there, I swear.
Okay, yeah. We're going to have to put a long disclaimer after this. Felix Cutler says, "Hi, OPP. Ginny is in love with Kuma, and Kuma is in love with Ginny, but his reason for not marrying her are heartbreaking. So will he have a short bliss of happiness after he rescues her? Next chapter, get married and have a daughter." That's really quick there. That's called a shotgun wedding, I think. Or will his mission fail and he finds his daughter next chapter while he is on his rescue mission for the love of his life? Poor Kuma can't catch a break.
I feel you kind of just answered your question with that last statement. Kuma can't catch a break. He's not a character who catches breaks. So,
I agree, but
whatever the most
time,
tragic version of that is.
Here's a tragedy idea I just came up with. We talked about the most surprising thing would be if Ginny has survived in some respect. The most awful thing would be Kuma dies fully in the present day, and then we learn Ginny has been alive the entire time. But he didn't realize.
Can't catch a break.
I mean, she could be somewhere in a prison.
Then she could be. Yeah, that fits with your Bonnie.
The
Bonnie and
real history thing. Maybe she got sent to the same dungeon that Belmare did. Sorry.
Now, how would 4Kids handle this flashback?
I don't know.
Oh God, it's fun to think about like how far they could get if they.
Well, yeah, we did the Floridian version of Slave for the last chapter, and I assume that's how that would go. Bartholomew Krama said, "Ahoy OPP." There's a question mark at the end of his name. Their name, sorry. Ahoy OPP. Banger chapter as always. So when Zoro said nothing happened, he was meaning in comparison to what Kuma has went through, huh? Kuma needs a hug, honestly. Speaking of, how soft do you think his hugs are? Have a good week.
He probably gives the
Someone
best
reacted with a sad
hugs.
emoji.
Kuma probably gives the best hugs, man.
If he doesn't accidentally crush you because he's gigantic.
Yeah, but he's such a gentle giant.
Yeah, gentle giants always give the softest hugs. Ask Steve.
Here's a question. Pre or post cyborg cybernetic stuff?
Pre.
I mean,
like before
obviously.
I was going to say,
yeah, because post
that might be iffy.
Might have,
I mean, it depends on how much, metallic is exposed and like, or if the skin layer of him is like not.
Let's move on.
It's too synthetic or whatever.
Layer, ew.
Yeah, when you said skin layer, I'm done. I should have put a big trigger warning before that. Or what do you call it? Content. Anyway, I'm going to get past that. Paw Freshener. Wow. Interesting take on that name that I couldn't pronounce. Ahoy hoy OPP. A short but compact chaptet this week. Many fans are wondering where Baby Bonnie is at. But the answer is quite clear. Ginny got tired of asking Kuma, so she had a secret love child with Dragon instead. That's right, fools. The Luffy mom conspirators strike again. Smoke bomb. Ah ha 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 ha. We're gonna move on and not even address that because we talked about it.
Because I feel like we talked about this.
Hopkins Hat says, "Hey OPP, how it be? Fishy D Swimmy has just had his last friend erased by Kuma." That's the cover story.
Fish.
But before he could worry about that, he needs to save his brother and defeat his grandfather, Fishy D Carp. Ooh, Fishy D Swimmy, I like it. With the help of Buggy the Clownfish, and give a One Piece character a fish pun name. It could also be another sea creature that are not fish. Picking a fishman is cheating.
Dang it.
I can't pick Jinbei then.
I was going to pick Jinbei. Yeah, just done.
Can we just pick Jinbei and all cheat?
Yeah, I'm trying to...
I feel like the funny people who would have come up with good puns.
Yeah, they're all gone.
They're all gone.
Sometimes my brain works well with puns, but I'm not that familiar with fish, so...
Every pun I make on this podcast, barring maybe one or two, for in the last 15 years, are all complete accidents. And they're good sometimes, but they are completely not intentional. If any of you believe that. Big Mike says, if you were a junior camper... This is a Simpsons reference, I will preface. If you were a junior camper and it was Sponge Bath, the old folks' day, and you could give a sponge bath to any elderly One Piece character, who would use Sponge Bath? There is a picture from the Simpsons episode of Jasper getting...
My answer is no.
About to get Sponge Bath.
No.
No, you're forced to. There's no choice. I think Rayleigh is going to be the answer for most people.
I guess so.
I guess really.
I'll say what's her face, the Amazon Lily former Empress chick. She seems like she'd be chill.
For some reason I thought it was only male. I don't know why
I'm like, who would it be less awkward for me?
Correa would be super into it.
That's
probably.
That's why I'm like, maybe not her.
I'm trying to pick someone who would just be platonic. Period. I'm not doing an into it thing.
No, I know. I was just noting that Correa would be very into that.
Oh my god. She'd probably snatch it from you and be like, I can do this better myself.
I mean, if I have to pick somebody, I guess what's her name from Water 7? The old mermaid.
You're gonna have to be more specific. You're right.
Kokodo. Yeah. That's what I'm picking.
Well, she's a mermaid, so
she's a mermaid.
That would go into interesting places. Although she's a bifurcated mermaid. I know this is all in the listeners' heads. None of this is me. Sheepman says, "Howdy, OPP. how does this happen when it's just the three of us? So we learn that the pain that Kuma expels from people goes back to them eventually. Is the reason that the memory pain paw on Egghead hasn't returned yet due to Kuma due to however Vegapunk constructed the room so that it can't return? That is a good question. It's
a good question, but I also feel like Kuma is getting stronger and can hold on to that pain for much longer. Because I feel like the pain he unleashed on Zoro is just pain he's built up for a really, really long time.
No, he unleashed Luffy's pain and Zoro.
He unleashed Luffy's pain. You're
here's
right.
a depressing.
It was a while ago.
Here's a depressing thought that I've seen some conjecture about too. What if these memories aren't actually his? What if they are Ginny's, and the reason they can't go back is because she's not alive anymore? There's no place for it to go back to.
Possible.
I like that. That's a good theory.
I was gonna say initially.
You made me sad though.
I know. I was gonna say initially if it's Kuma's, it could be because he's not really him anymore. So maybe it wouldn't count. But that makes more sense to me that it would be because
they did do a brief flashback during this arc where Vegapunk is talking to Kuma about his powers that I gotta find. I'm not sure. That's a very good question. I'll look at it later because otherwise I'm not going to get through these questions. I'll be just looking at Shonen Jump. DDDDD Freed says, "Hey OP Opals." I don't get it. Wow, the old king of sorbet, sure it was a dirtbag. He committed one of the most evil yet under-discussed political acts in the world. Gerrymandering. If you could gerrymander the One Piece fandom into new districts, how would you do it? I did forget to mention the banality of what he was doing, the banality of evil kind of thing.
Yeah.
That really comes through. I thought that, I forget how he said, like, economically he could, it's creepy. But it also makes sense. Like, even if he weren't trying to be a dirtbag, how would he save the most people in his kingdom given the awful hierarchy?
Yeah.
Anyway, how would you gerrymander the One Piece fandom? How would we even do that?
I would take all of the people who ship Luffy seriously with anybody and take them away from everybody else.
Yeah, I like that one. He is asexual and aromantic to discuss.
Live action fan community into their own gerrymandered district.
Why? What's wrong with? Why would you gerrymander?
I don't know. I just felt like
you just want them to have a separate representation.
They got their own representative.
That's maybe
that's
fair.
basically what we're asking. Who are we taking out and putting into?
I feel like anime and manga fans can be gerrymandered into one. It's fine, but the live action folks, I think they're just, if that's their only consumption, they're way too behind. So I think they should just be like,
you mean
elsewhere.
Well, for their own safety, I think it may be that.
It's for their own safety. Yeah,
we're doing them a favor.
Yeah, you're right. Oh man.
We're in the lawless land. They're in the royal kingdom. Next question, because I don't know how else to answer that. Sailor Karna is worldwide says, "Hey OPP, I attempted to show my kid Pirates of the Caribbean, but since it wasn't a Luffy movie, she checked out. So this got me thinking, who would win a popularity contest between Captain Jack Sparrow and Monkey D. Luffy?" Easy answer there.
I mean, among the normies, it's Captain Jack. I hate to say that. But in terms of who's an actually better character, it's Luffy.
Are we doing Iñaki? Because Iñaki. I think I mentioned that my friend. I have a friend who's a normie and only watched the live action. So in that gerrymandered district, and she watched it because of Iñaki.
Aw, baby boy.
Who she had known from previous shows. So I feel like if everyone has to watch let's just say it's the One Piece live action versus all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I wonder if everyone has actually seen both and it's not just like I have to because I've only seen one.
I feel like among normal people, like probably Captain Jack is the more popular. Because the question is popular.
What about One Piece people?
Right?
Oh, well,
Luffy,
that's
obviously.
Luffy. That's easy.
I mean, but that's an obvious bias.
In One Piece?
Actual people in the One Piece world, if Captain Jack Sparrow
I still say it would be Luffy.
I don't think he'd live very long.
Luffy keeps making friends with everybody.
Answer.
So, like,
that's true.
Unless it's the world government, but they wouldn't like either of them. So, like, It would still be Luffy.
Well, they'd have to choose, much like you had to choose the sponge bath question. Yeah, I don't like that either. Wisdom Pythagoras says, hey, OPP, so do you think the real reason Vegapunk didn't want Bonnie to touch Kuma's memories was that they were going to eventually return to him, but now that she's gone and embraced them, he may never get access to those memories again? Thank you, Marianne.
Oh.
You apparently wrote in as Wisdom Pythagoras at 6:18, so a few hours ago.
That's actually also an interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
No, isn't that what you said?
Well, not exactly.
Oh.
Because I was saying like the memories couldn't go back
sorry.
because if they were the memories of a dead person. Or if Kuma is so far gone in regards to...
Sorry, I misread it.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, if Kuma is so far gone...
You were right.
Like, mentally and becoming a cyborg that he's, like, basically mentally dead, that he couldn't get his memories back. But I had not thought about the possibility of if somebody else reads his memories, or whoever's memories those are, then they wouldn't be able to go back just in the way that, like, you push the pain onto other people? I don't know.
This is like Sugar's Power and some others. This is like one of those that have a lot of... It's very nebulous still what circumstances it could be used. Like, it has so many potential things that it could do. It's a really interesting power and with a very cartoony vibe, which is super One Piece. We have one last Dispiece question. I love Sky Shark because of OPP says, hey, OPP Dachi. After that trivia a bit back featuring the One Piece cookbook, I pointed my roommates toward it. They tried making the steamed Sky Shark, and let me tell you, it was delish. What are your favorite One Piece recipes, the non-One Piece ones?
I have not seen this book, so I don't know.
I have the book. I haven't used it yet.
Yeah, I haven't used it yet either.
Much have I with many of my other nerdy cookbooks.
I'd have to look. Yeah, I don't have this in front of me, and none of the people here are going to be experts in this specific subject.
None of us are Sanjis.
I like cooking. I just never use the cookbooks that I have. I kind of cook random stuff.
Yeah. That's about right. We had some emails. Let me see if there's anything interesting. Some of these I might save for when the full crew is on.
Because we're not good enough for them.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. No, because it's like very specific things that we've talked about in the past. J. Murray Eel says, yo, you guys, I had an idea recently that changed my view on the body swapping in Punk Hazard. For a long time, I really wished that they had the voice actor swap alongside the body instead of having them imitate the character. But perhaps Oda wanted this to be the way for when Emu gets a full reveal. And when Emu is finally revealed, they look like Vivi, but have a masculine voice because Emu had an the Law's Fruit user, swap them into Lily's body to have control of the ancient weapon Uranus. What are your thoughts?
I had never thought of that, but that could be interesting.
That would be very interesting. That would be weird. I have nothing else to say about that.
Yeah, I got nothing on that one.
Interesting theory.
It is interesting and totally possible, and I have nothing else to say about that.
Good job.
Good going. What else do we have? Oh, okay. So for Peace... I do I have to do it, or does someone else want to do Piece of the Tweet? The thing.
Piece the Tweet, yeah.
Thank you, Jose. That was
good.
Beautiful. It was. I almost cried.
Sorry, it's my best Ed impression.
No, it's good. We only have two, and then we're done. Gabe Ruiz says, "Hi OPP. The math doesn't add up for Bonnie's birth. What do you all think this means? And should Kuma go on the Maury Povich show?" No. He's way too kind for that show.
Is that show still on the air?
I hope not. Probably
I don't think it is.
Do I want to look this up?
Some version of it probably
We're going to find out. I'm sure
older. There's some daytime talk show. Maury Povich.
She seems so dedicated.
He's a retired American television personality. He's retired.
But it ended last year around almost this time.
You're welcome, everybody. I'm glad you all know that now.
Nah, she seems so into him. Like Ginny seems so into Kuma that I feel like it couldn't be anybody else's unless there are devious other means involved.
She seems hyper loyal and into.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't
unrequited
seem like
love. Yeah. And the last one comes from Nacho. Now I'm hungry for plain Tostitos, Jose. Who says, "Hey OPP, this was the only other person who understands me. This was for last week, but what do you think about the theory that says Gloriosa may be Yamato's mom? She left Amazon Lily for love. She was in Rox's pirate crew. Yamato's white snake attack. Kuja's strength is beauty. And Gloriosa explained the Vivre cards to Luffy and Yamato to Ace."
Could be. That's all I have to say. Could be. That's interesting.
This is another theory that's like both out there and totally plausible. Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing to add on this one. But good job connecting all those dots.
Yeah.
It's like, I wonder, the thing is they were all really into Whitebeard, rightfully so. Gloriosa and
yeah, have you ever seen them say the One Piece is real?
I have. Let's move on into the final segment. You're
welcome, everybody.
Let's wrap this up. This has been the One Piece Podcast, episode 794 for November 6, 2023. Thank you, Jose, Marianne, for sticking around. Thanks to Steve, Ed, Daniel, Henry, Sam, all for coming on this episode. Action-packed, fun stuff. Hope you enjoyed this one. A few things I forgot to mention besides Balloon Fest, which I was supposed to look up the dimensions, and I still will, if I remember, is we have some new podcasts, including 4Kids Flashback. The thing I want to mention about 4Kids Flashback, Steve, Yurko, and Tara Sands, voice actress who worked at 4Kids, they do weekly together. This week's guest is the man himself who did the One Piece rap for 4Kids, Sean Conrad. Very excited for this one. I hope to eventually put it on this feed, but you should really just subscribe, rate, and review 4Kids Flashback, which is part of our VIZ Media family. So check that out. You should also check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/One Piece Podcast. Alternate titles, alternate images from Steve, and we had Mike Paddens last week, which were really cool and fun. And for ad-free episodes, extended stuff, videos from Japan that Jose, I think, helped edit a decade ago. And a lot more.
Is Dallas up there too, or no?
Dallas is up there. The only one we don't have is we have some clips from the one we did in 2019, but that hopefully at some point we'll have. But Jose, I know you've been waiting this entire time since your dog interrupted you rudely at the beginning.
Both of them. They're both asleep, so I'm going to promote this now while they're still asleep.
Yeah, do it now. Do it quick.
Quick.
They're going to completely wake up.
So I have been working on IGPX Remaster for a few years now, and it premiered last night on Toonami, sort of. At 2 a.m, which was real fun, cool. But the cool thing is now it will be a part of Toonami's run fully, 2:30 in the morning on Saturday nights. Please check it out. I worked really hard on it. I think the remaster looks really, really good, and it'll be after One Piece. Actually, I think it's after Naruto.
I think it is.
It's after both of them.
One Piece, Naruto, IGPX.
Yeah, Naruto, IGPX.
And One Piece is in Dressrosa, I believe, on Toonami right now.
But
and it will be for years to come.
Well, they're going through it pretty fast.
They were doing double. Well,
they're doing double.
It's more that Dressrosa goes on forever than them doing it fast.
Yeah, but they are doubling up those episodes, so hopefully they'll get through it fast. But either way, just sit through a good Saturday night on Toonami. Also, I have stuff coming out from VIZ. I worked on the JoJo's Part 6 Blu-ray trailers. Those are coming out, and so keep an eye out for those, and some other stuff from VIZ relatively soon that hasn't been announced yet. And yeah, that's it. Okay, I got now my dogs can bark at me.
Waiting. Marianne, where could people find you and your work?
I am an actor for Crunchyroll, so if you want to watch any of the various isekai, inevitably, shows that I've been in, and also One Piece, you can watch those on Crunchyroll's apps or websites. But also, if you want to follow me on social media, I am on the app formerly known as Twitter and Instagram as Marianne D. Hobbit. That is Marianne D, as in the Will of D, and then Hobbit as in I like Lord of the Rings too much. Yeah, also currently in a show called I Will Survive Using Potions. So if you want to hear more of my voice,
isekai.
You can, yeah, hey, another isekai. Yep. You can watch me play a very Eowyn-esque Lady Knight in that one this season on the Crunchyrolls. But yeah.
And I was telling Marianne before, I read that one Vegapunk, I don't want to jinx anything, but the one Vegapunk in your voice, and I feel like even after hearing, like, thinking of Flampe on the brain, super, they're so similar, I feel like, in their,
Fingers crossed.
You love to hate them.
I know. I that's one of the reasons. We'll see.
I forgot to say my Twitter name. It's Arguing Meadows, by the way, if you want to follow me on
Twitter. Blue Sky.
Oh, yeah, I'm on that too. I forget to post on it, but I am on it. Same with Instagram, to be fair.
Zach.onepiecepodcast.com. You're arguingmeadows.com on there, right?
I was, and then they took away my .com.
Oh, right, they did.
I haven't figured that out yet, but at Arguing Meadows, basically everywhere on social media, except Instagram, that's a private account.
So we're going to find it. So before we go, the important thing, here's the description of the Monkey D. Luffy balloon that will be flying on November 23rd in New York City. Anime's favorite pirate, Monkey D. Luffy, the beloved captain of the Straw Hats, will be grinning ear to ear as he embarks on his newest adventure, trading the high seas to set sail down the streets of New York City. Monkey D. Luffy has been entertaining fans for more than 24 years as part of One Piece, the celebrated global franchise. Fun fact, Luffy will be led the entire way by his very own pirate crew of skilled marchers, all honorary Straw Hats for the day. Yeah, there you go. Balloon dimensions, here's what you're looking for. 43 feet long, 39 feet wide, 50 feet tall. The General Frankie, I think, was just under 50 when I looked it up. I don't have my V-Very cards all in front of me, so I can't say for sure.
Aren't you all glad you stuck around for this part?
Again, 1,500 centimeters.
We teased it at the very start of the show, and now we're paying it off.
We did something. Next week, we are very, very excited to say that Kaiser Neko from Team 4-Star will be on Scott Frericks, and we'll probably be talking about the next chapter. This chapter was so short, I did not think we'd have one next week, but I haven't seen anything to suggest that. So
it says 7 days on the Shonen Jump app.
Sometimes that's wrong, but
that's true.
Until next week, my name is Zach. We'll see you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.